what number meeting? I think it's the 19th meeting or something like that. Maybe the 20th. We're getting up there. Hope everybody's doing good. Thanks for joining. It's been great. We have Lisa. Lisa, it's her first time joining Eden Fractal, and she's waving. She's got Lisa's coffee shop there too. Check out Lisa's coffee shop. And we were having some great conversations. Patrick said number 19, so thank you, Patrick, for clarifying. Also, great to see Sebastian too, joining in for the second time. Thanks again, Sebastian. And yeah, thanks everybody for joining. Wax is apparently also doing the EVM Ideathon at the same time too, which is going awesome. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining. Hope you're doing well. And I think we'll break out in the breakout rooms in 10 minutes. If anybody has anything you'd like to share first or speak about, then feel free.
Just that I know Chris Bonds really wanted to join, but he's stuck as he's also included on the live stream. So he may join us as soon as he's finished.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for letting us know, Waxa. And yeah, he's got important stuff to do as well, so I understand. But hopefully he'll be able to join. But either way, we'll see lots of Chris coming up soon. Also, by the way, I should say too, we had the Eden election on October 8th, 4 days ago. Congratulations, Waxa, on being a chief delegate. Also, congratulations to Chris for being reelected as a chief delegate, as well as the 3 other chief delegates, Javier Fernandez from Medellin, and he was Costa Rica. He's awesome. And Jesse right in front of me, and everything that these are doing as well with Nicola. And Jesse's also going to be a big part of his platform was running networking events and hoping to grow Eden with Eden Fractal too. So if you'd like to share anything about that at some point, Jesse, then I think that'd be awesome. And then missing one person who elected, who is Riki. I'm not totally sure if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, Riki or Reiki, from Seeds and from Haifa. It's pronounced Reiki. Okay, cool. Thank you. So yeah, so congratulations all the chief delegates. Congratulations, Wax and Jesse. Thanks for joining us. And congratulations to everybody who joined too. Patrick was also a delegate. There's several other delegates here too. Vlad was a delegate. Duane's a delegate, I think. So congratulations, everybody. Congratulations, whole community. I think it was an awesome election. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one. I'm really looking forward to this season, seeing all the chief delegates and everybody in the community cooperate. I think we're going to do some really awesome things. And as Patrick said in the chat, Jesse, the head chief, the best bee in the galaxy. Although Nicola is also a very great bee in the galaxy as well as many other bees too.
Hey everyone, glad to be here. Thank you for your support. I'm super grateful to be back in the chief delegate seat. And the Eden Fractal is a very important part of what we got planned. There is something I'd like to address today, perhaps after the breakout rooms, concerning the liquidity pool that Vlad had mentioned. I was not aware that this was happening. I learned it for the first time during the Eden election. And there are some legal concerns with that. And so I haven't done the research. I do plan on doing some research, but I do want to address it with all of you after the breakout rooms. So if you'd like to be part of that discussion, please stick around after the breakout rooms.
Yes, thank you, Jesse. Great point. For anybody who's not very familiar, we'll do the breakout rooms, breakout in about 7 minutes. Actually, we should also say we're doing a longer process today because we ratified, or I don't know if ratified is the right word, but we approved the Eden plus Fractal process that was proposed by DAS last week. It's a really innovative new process that basically combines the original Eden election process with the Fractally process. So during the meeting, what we're going to be doing, Vlad also built this into the UI tool where we normally enter, and Tadas just joined too. So I suppose that Tadas can introduce it more if you'd like. But basically, Vlad built this function in the tool where we can also, in addition to putting in the rankings of contributions 1 through 6, we can also elect a delegate. So the way it's going to be working is that during this meeting, we're going to be doing a bit of a longer meeting for, I think, a total of 55 minutes. And then during that meeting, we'll both rank contributions 1 through 6, and then pick a delegate who will have some decision-making power in forming consensus and voting on proposals and so forth in the future. Tadas can maybe explain it more, introduce it more, but first I'll just also respond to what Jesse was saying too. So after that breakout room is over, then we'll go into a big community room like this where we'll have a discussion. And Jesse brought up a great topic. This is something that I think is really important for the community to discuss. I was also talking with Vlad about this a lot yesterday as well. And so I'm looking forward to getting to that. And I also shared a few proposals to start using Consortium app more as the community as well in the Eden Discord, and I'll share the link there so people can check it out. But first, I'll open it up if Jesse wants to respond to that, or if maybe Tadas would like to provide more of an overview into the process that we'll be doing today. I kind of just gave an overview that I think is sufficient now. I didn't go into all the details about how the process works, but basically I just said that during the meeting, we're going to be doing both electing a delegate and also ranking contributions at the same time. And it's going to be 55 minutes rather than 45 minutes, or rather than 40 minutes.
Wait, so in the past it was 45 minutes, right?
It was 40 minutes in the past. It was kind of a little bit flexible, like sometimes I kept going for 45 minutes because 45 minutes is really better. But the original thinking with 40 minutes was that we usually start at 13:15 UTC, and some people said they had to go at 14 UTC. So I figured, okay, we could have 40 minutes, and that means that we have 5 minutes so we can submit consensus and everything like that in case people have to leave early. So there could be a little bit of a concern there if we go longer, like if people do have a hard stop, if they have a meeting coming up at 14 UTC. But yeah, previously it was technically 40 minutes, but sometimes it went to 45. So I guess that now we'll do 55 minutes.
Yes, sounds good.
Okay, great. Hey, Charles, and hey, Marco, and hey, Jiyon. Hope you guys are doing well. It's great to see you. I just pasted a link, and I'm pasting a few more links to proposals that I just made in Consortium. If you haven't had the chance yet, I'd love to hear your thoughts about them. And I'd like to also discuss these after the breakout rooms end, in addition to the matters that Jesse brought up. I'll just provide a high-level summary here. I suppose I think that'd be helpful, although feel free if anybody wants to jump in with any questions or thoughts or anything like that. But basically, the proposal I made is, one is just, should we use Consortium as a signaling tool? I'll also provide a link direct. Well, you can see any of those links. Go to consortium.vote, and then Consortium is a great voting app that Vlad has been building along with Lennar for the past 3 years or so, and I think it'd be really helpful for the community. So I posted those on there, and anybody can vote. Right now, you can vote with the Eden tokens to share your support if you think it's a good idea. It has a lot of benefits, like it's all on EOS blockchain, and it makes it, I think it'll help us provide more order and structure to these meetings, and make proposal system a lot better. I think it will work really well with the Eden plus Fractal process that Tadas proposed that we were just talking about, as a complementary kind of way to measure consensus of the community and so forth. And so I made one proposal to use Consortium as a signaling tool. Another proposal, should we post all proposals on Consortium? I think it's a good idea, rather than just talking about it. We can also post on Consortium, have it in writing and so forth, and then people can vote on it. And then also I made one last one, that should we prioritize meetings with more votes on Consortium meetings? So basically, if there's 2 proposals and one proposal has more votes, then generally speaking, we'll discuss the one with more votes. So that can be by a way that we can order and sequence discussions about proposals and so forth, depending on how many votes they get. And these are also just, they're all flexible, like nothing's totally binding, so we can play by ear if the community thinks a different thing is better in a way. But I think in general that these will help with organizing the community and so forth. We also talked about this a bit on the town hall with Nicola and Patrick and CAC this week too, released last night too, so people can check out that with any more questions or details, or feel free to ask any questions or share any thoughts here, and I'm interested to hear what people think.
Well, I love it. I love construction. We think we can tap into a lot more than we're using now.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks, Marco. All right, we're at 13:15. Patrick said send your contributions to the Eden Fractal mind map and the link too. Yeah, check that out. There's also some really cool stuff coming with the mind map too that Patrick was telling me about. I think I'm excited about that. If there's no further ado, then I'll start the breakout rooms now, and feel free to, of course, share any questions or comments. I think that Lisa understands how it works as well. So if anything is confusing, or for anybody else who's fairly new, then please feel free to ask. And we'll have 3 breakout rooms. And hey, Shans. Oh, Shans made it.
Hey Dan, how's it going?
Going good. How are you, Shans?
Yeah, going good. I just made a page. It's from my experience of induction to make it easier. I just sent out a link. If you want to make any change, let me know. So if somebody doesn't know about the EOS ecosystem, they can understand what is RAM, because I thought it's something wrong with my cell phone. I spent like an hour to understand RAM.
Sorry about that.
I spent like 2-3 hours
Oh man,
on this. So yeah, I thought it's better to put everything in one place nicely, so that person can, new member can easily, get everything in one website, small site. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Shans. I just clicked it in. It looks like it's really well done. So I'm looking forward to digging this more. And it seems like a really helpful resource for many people in the future. So thank you very much. Sorry that you had all those issues with RAM, and we'll try to get that figured out as an EOS community to save you time. But we're working on that, and thank you very much. Okay, cool. We're already a couple minutes beyond, so I'll open the breakout rooms now, and we'll do 55 minutes. So the breakout room will end in 55 minutes from now, which I think is 14:12 UTC or so. And I'll open up all rooms. Hope everybody has a great time. Hey, everyone.
Hey, Dan. Are you posting here?
Yes.
All right, I can kick it off.
Cool.
Hello, everyone. My contributions this week, I've been spending a lot of time setting up a plan for Eden, and I was able to be successful in the election. We already started creating this web page from edenelections.com. Nothing to show yet, but getting the blueprints, working on the blueprints, the copy and some of the images, working with Wax on that. And then I have a meeting, well, I guess that would be for next time, but I'm meeting tomorrow with Lenny and Lisa for the community manager role. And yeah, we're starting the process. And yeah, one of the things also that I wanted to bring up today, and I'm glad I have Dan on the line here and Vlad. In the spirit of networking, I'd like to propose, and I can do it after in the big breakout room as well, that so from what I understand, contributions in the Eden Fractal, it counts if you're contributing to the fractal democracy in general, EOS or Eden. And I'd like to propose a fourth reason is helping each other or helping someone else in the Eden Fractal that could count as a contribution. And so, yeah, that's me. I will kick it off to Jiyon.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So this week, and I started this on last week. The first thing I have to say for my contribution is the election opt-in tracking, as they were. So I basically went to the Genesis Eden account and I started tracking all those who opted in for the past 2 or 3 weeks, and I've been updating it in a spreadsheet in Google Sheet, and also I sort of build a Google site for that. So those are my first contributions. And for the election, I prepared a speech for the members directory. So I had prepared some Figma files for that, and the basic idea is to have a directory where we can update our information. So when we are inducted, we are given some information, but we cannot edit that afterwards. Also, if something in my career changes, so in my about section, I said I'm a BBS moderator. So that might change sometime soon. Or I don't know, it might stay. So it will stay like that forever in my case. And I think many have done given those kind of information that can be changed in the future. So I propose a place where we can go and update that information and not overwrite any information in the Genesis community or that website, but just as a other layer. So that was my proposal for the election, and I participated in the election. And also I got a tweet swarm by the bees, and I got that was exciting. So that I sort of put together a thread and just and the bees helped me. So I had to storm that tweet, and it was awesome. It's a awesome experience, and I think everyone should try that. We are members here. We know what's going on with EOS, and we can make a tweet about that. I'm sure about that. And then we can all get that swarm. It's a very nice experience. I would love everyone experiencing that. And for the last contribution, I am a moderator at the BBS. So the BBS is a social media platform that's being built on EOS. So the app release is coming soon. So they have the alpha test going on for the BBS app. So I was in charge of selecting the users for the alpha test, and that's going on. So those are all my contributions this week. And I pass on to Vlad.
Yep, thanks. So this week I did a fair bit for Eden Fractal. I did changes both in the front end and in the smart contracts as well, so that we could select delegates for the Eden Fractal Plus proposal. Besides that, mainly focused on CTF. We did another round of testing. Jiyon was one of the testers. Thank you very much for that. It was very helpful. And yes, also with Dan, yesterday we had a call brainstorming about the consortium, about some additional features. And that's it. Mockingbird Sparrow. Would you like to go next?
Thanks, Vlad. Sort of my fan is running on. Well, same thing I do every week is the newsletter. The thing that I really want to get, my focus lies is I like to have a decent organization on the new website briefings, which goes into history, project, influencer, timeline segments. That's a lot of organizing stuff that goes back even further than I thought. I know I had content, I just didn't realize I had it accessible. So kind of a little bit more organized than I expected. But I'd like to get that in by the time, just before Mellow starts. So I'm going to be focusing on that. I know there was something else. I know I had a couple of questions. I think it was something Jesse said. And I am definitely looking at some of the stuff Vlad saying I like with Jiyon. So I'm going to pass it off to Duane because Dan is always there.
Thanks. Nice to see everybody. Contributions this week for this specific fractal have been showing up today. Congratulations on everybody on the Eden elections. I did get to the stage 2 and represented my room fairly well, I believe. And just some comments. It's great to see developers and marketers, and heavy on the marketers there. So it's very nice to see. And yeah, a lot of things I've started for future plans to grow the membership in Eden. And one of them, bringing over our Wax community and our Alien Worlds community to utilize all these governance tools. So I've been participating in the IBC to see the path of least resistance to use some of these tools. And started last week and got distracted, but also using Vlad's consortium tools. So if we look a little bit bigger past our EOS ecosystem, we've got a lot of excellent tools that can be utilized by other communities. And I think that's one way to grow, to grow our communities here. So yeah, that's about it. Pass it on to Dan.
Cool. Thank you very much, Duane. I'll start up my presentation here and be off and running in just a moment. Sorry for the delay. Okay, cool. So I did actually probably makes sense to just turn this off for a second. So yeah, I've been working on Eden and EOS and Eden Fractal stuff a lot this week. I haven't had much time to prepare or order my presentation, so it might be kind of messy. I just kind of put together some links real quick. Been mostly focusing on just getting the work done in advance as opposed to the presentation. But yeah, so yesterday I put out a tweet about new town hall. I might wind up deleting this and then re-putting it out there because I was planning on doing a subsidized form with it, but I misread the time. And so, but anyway, I put out this. The tweet is about a video at the town hall that I did with Nicholas and Patrick and CAC. We talked about consortium. We talked about the Eden plus Fractal process created by Tadas, and we did about a 40-minute episode. And I also encourage people to join the town halls. I made some cool artwork for it, and I also made a little song to start out with, and then I made some timestamps as well. So I think that this is helpful to get the word out about these new consensus processes that we're using, help promote consortium, help promote Eden plus Fractal, and help promote people in the community who are doing great work. And then, yeah, so you can check out the video there. It might be reposted soon. I also did an interview with the DOS. I'm launching a new series, a new podcast called Creator Talks. And this was kind of impromptu a bit. DOS and I were talking for a while about consensus processes, and we decided it'd be a good idea to have a conversation. And so we had a conversation for about an hour and a half. We recorded about an hour, and in the process of editing it. And then for the past few years, I've been planning on launching a new show called Creator Talks, where I'll interview and talk with, mostly just talk with, I guess, to keep more casual, people who are creating all sorts of cool things. So like Tadas is creating great protocols and systems where people can cooperate better. And then in the future, I'd like to do talks with a lot of people at these Eden Fractal events and hear people's stories and hear people what they're creating. And then also people who are just creating all sorts of cool things like music or science or art or anything like that. So we did an interview there, and we'll discuss more there, but that was mostly about the Eden plus Fractal process, also about consortium a bit. Of course, I participated in the Eden election, and I shared a presentation in the Eden election. I referred to the first Eden election, which was a year ago now, over a year ago, and I shared some other things, and we elected Javier, which is awesome. Javier's doing awesome work. But a good opportunity to promote. I also inducted Shans right before, along with Jesse and Vlad too. So there are some things for Vlad and Jesse that I don't think they mentioned, but give them credit for that. They joined the meeting and were really helpful. And then I also, this isn't really good because it's not really good visual because Michael from Bywire took down the video for some reason, but I participated in like the full community room for the Eden election, and I spoke quite a bit about Eden Fractal. Lots of people like Brendan Lovejoy had questions. Thank you also, Jesse, for speaking on behalf, and Marco, and lots of people, and also Jiyon too. You shared your thoughts. So that was really cool. I think that it was a great opportunity for people to learn about Eden Fractal. So I shared a bunch of links there as well and tried to help people understand the benefits of Eden Fractal and how it can work together with Eden and the EOS community. And then also yesterday, I made some proposals. Well, I had a conversation with Vlad for a couple of hours yesterday about various things with consortium and also with Eden Fractal in general. One of the things that came out of that is that I made a couple of proposals. So this proposal I made last week, should we use consortium as a signaling tool? And I think this is really helpful for the community. So I reposted that in the Eden Discord yesterday. And then there's also some proposals I made last week that I think that are still good proposals that that I'd like to focus on in the future. But first, I'd like to focus more on consortium. So I made another one, which is, should we pass all proposals on consortium? I voted yes for it and shared it in the Discord. Then I just shared it earlier when we first started the event too. I think this would be really helpful for the community to organize ideas. And I think consortium is a great tool that we can use more, and also that we can organize proposals by how many votes they receive too. So I put those up and I shared those, and I think that those are really helpful to focus on. And I also spent a while this week working with custom permissions. I started writing some articles because I think that there's several things we can do to use consortium more effectively. One of the things that Vlad and I talked about was setting up custom permissions to make consortium run more easily. So if people have their accounts on hardware wallets or anything like that, then they can set up a custom permission to be able to do things like vote on polls really easily and make polls really easily. Started also building the branding for a new, I guess, brand or something called Signals too, spelled with a C. And so I was playing around with that. And I think that this is something that can help grow consortium and help people also understand how we can use these. I'm envisioning that in post breakout rooms, like we could have consortium signals where we can like quickly put up polls and proposals to help guide the room and help guide the moderator and so forth during post meetings, because last week was a bit chaotic. And I think that we can use tools like Eden plus Fractal and consortium to really help facilitate cooperation, especially as Jesse and people are inviting more people into the group with networking events and so forth. Sorry if that was a bit long. I didn't have my timer for the first part of it, but I'll pass it on now to, did we go? I think everybody went, didn't they?
Yeah, everyone went.
Let
Okay.
me touch on something real quick. I still forgot what I wanted to ask Jesse. But I don't know if you remember, a while ago I mentioned the idea of flash consensus on Telegram or Discord or wherever. But maybe, I don't know what's possible with consortium, but the idea of using votes to propel a proposal might merge nicely with the flash consensus. Again, the idea is to, like a pickup game, pick a baseball game or whatnot. We have a pickup flash consensus with an objective, maybe a smaller objective than the larger objective for Saturday, and something like getting more proposals to get it to the top of the list would be one of those use cases.
Guys,
I'm not sure how it all works, but something along those lines.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Marco, but I just want to ask you guys your opinion on something. So Chris Barnes just joined, but there's 3 rooms right now, and they all have 6. So I don't know what to do. Do you think I should just invite Chris to this room, and so like we can?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Duane. And yeah, sorry to interrupt you, Marco, but please feel free to continue though.
No, that's about it. And the idea of Flash Consensus is having like a pickup game. We modify the consensus process or whatever. Just the idea is that with Fractally in mind, we have a topic rather than contributions. And we just bring it to some sort of meaningful end using consortium. Nothing major, just the idea to engage the community to move forward with something. It's really the whole thing. And centered around a weekly meeting, whether it be Wednesday or Saturday or whatever. Is that all clear?
All right, should we commence to the ranking?
Yeah, I think so. But first, I'll just say, Marco, that sounds interesting. I'd like to rehear it. I was a little bit distracted, so I didn't totally understand everything. Sorry about that, just because I was thinking of the situation with Chris. But I wanted to say welcome to Chris. Well, thanks for joining, and then hope the ideathon went great too. I heard that you're busy, and it looks like you're all dressed up and ready for production.
Yeah, sorry I'm late. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Yeah, there was 3 groups of 6 already, so I'm not sure what we should do, how we should do it. Normally I would add you to a group with 5 or 4, but I just asked and we figured that we'd add you here. So
yeah, I won't vote. I'm just here for the conversation. So yeah, all good. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Sounds great. Thank you, Chris. Should we get into the consensus then? I don't know if Chris wants to share anything that he's done at all, but I suppose that we'll just vote on the first 6 people here.
No,
but, okay.
I came late. Don't include me at all. It's all good. You guys go ahead. Thank you though.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. Okay. Did any have any questions or thoughts before we get into consensus making?
No, let's do it.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Does everybody have their votes ready, or their rather selection for level number 6 ready?
Yep.
If so, please give a thumbs up or give some sort of approval. Yep. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, 2 for Jesse.
3-way tie.
All right.
2 for Dan and 2 for Vlad.
Okay, well, I'll go first. I think that it makes the most sense for Jesse to be level 6. Jesse's done an awesome job promoting Eden Fractal and Eden and EOS, and he's doing awesome work with EOSBs in general. I really greatly appreciate that. I know Jesse hasn't been able to attend some of the meetings because he's super busy with ESBs, which is understandable, but I appreciate he's been making more effort to attend lately, or making more time in his schedule, and also just all the stuff you've been doing with promoting it, especially as chief delegate too. I think that's incredibly helpful for the community and the networking events. So I think that it makes the most sense for Jesse. I mean, Vlad is also doing awesome work too. So Vlad's my number 5, by the way. And I'd be happy to go with Vlad as number 6 as well, because Vlad has just been like doing the smart contracts for the delegates. That's incredibly helpful. Vlad and I had an incredibly helpful meeting yesterday too. So I'm happy to go with Vlad as number 6 as well. But that's my reasoning. And CTF.
Vlad and Jesse both voted for Dan, so I changed my vote.
I can change my vote to Vlad. I'm okay with that.
Okay. I'm also
Marco changed to Dan to Dan.
Change to this. So.
All right, well, Jiyon just changed it to me.
I'm happy to go for either Vlad or
Okay.
Jesse, whatever reaches consensus.
All right, so for Vlad, it's myself, Dan, Marco, And
should we do it again or?
And Vlad. Yes, Vlad is voting for Vlad.
Okay, so Vlad 6.
All right, so we have consensus for Vlad for
Okay.
6.
Great.
Can Vlad, can you post the tool, the ranking, the voting, the UI? I always forget to bookmark it. Thank you. And your account is Vladislav.x.
And room 2, I believe.
Oh, so there's an update. So the delegate, you put your own account name as the first entry there.
Do you choose delegate after setting?
Oh yes. Okay, never mind. Okay, right. All right. Ready for rank 5?
Yes. Is everybody ready? Jiyon. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, looks like Jesse's got unanimous vote.
Wow, a sweep. Clean sweep.
I'm ready for 4.
I'm ready for 4 as well. 3, 2, 1, and go. Okay, thanks everybody. Appreciate
What's
it.
your EOS account?
Dan.
Oh wow, that's a great account.
Thanks.
How about you, Jesse? What's your account?
Jesse.jam, I think, right?
Yeah. How much did you pay for that premium account?
I paid, I think, 78 EOS. It was when EOS was a bit more expensive though, so it was like maybe $200, something like that.
Nice. All right, rank 3. I'm ready.
I'm ready to. 3, 2, 1, and go. Okay.
All right.
I think somebody didn't vote. We only have 5 votes out there, it looks like.
No, I put new legend.
Yeah, there's still only 5 votes though.
All right, we get consensus.
It's
Duane, Dan, Vlad.
it's me. Yeah, so I want to vote for myself, and I don't know if we allowed that. So
But yeah, but vote for you put some name down, Jiyon. If you don't want to vote for yourself, vote for someone else.
You're saying you do want to vote for yourself or you don't want to vote for yourself?
I do want to vote for myself, but I don't know if it's allowed. We agreed to not to vote for yourself or no.
Yeah, I think by default, you can vote for yourself. If people agree that you can't, then that can be agreed on in the meeting if people want, but by default, you can vote for yourself. And I think that people should be able to vote for themselves if they want to.
Yeah, sometimes Sapiens, if you're in a room with Sapiens, he's going to try to convince everyone not to vote for themselves, but he's not here, so you can vote for yourself.
Right.
Okay, so
The rule is it's up to the group to determine how we come to consensus.
Yeah.
But you said you want to vote for yourself, but then you voted for Marco. I think that if you vote for yourself here, John, then you'll have consensus.
I voted for him too. We had consensus. We got 5 out of 6.
Oh yeah, new legend. Yeah, never mind. Jesse wrote new legend, so I got confused there. So he's already got 4 to 6.
Yeah, I changed my vote too.
Okay. Okay.
Jiyon,
Cool.
what's your EOS account?
Just that.
A new legend.
All right.
Yep, that's right.
Nice. Okay.
Ready for 2?
Okay. Ready? 3, 2, 1, and go.
One, 2, 3 for Marco. 3 for Duane.
Before I vote for myself, or Duane does, you said IBC? Yeah, I'm gonna hold firm on you. Because that's something, and I just recently joined the group. I thought it was part of the group, but I asked about it, and yeah, I'm really interested in that. So just to further that conversation. And you want to cross people over to blockchains, and I'm all for that. Plus the gaming thing. So let's run out the clock on this one.
Well, I appreciate it, but there will be more actionable events that I can report on. So it's just an initiation. So I would suggest I would hold firm to still vote for you as well.
All right, if you got nothing else to say, I'll move on. If you want to take the time, use your minutes to talk about it, whatever comes to mind.
Yeah, I think my only comments is we take for granted how awesome the tools we have are. And when I'm listening to other groups in Wax, especially play to earn games, this is a big issue where they're trying to lessen the extraction of value out of groups and communities because there's bots and they need these sort of steps, and just not Eden, but different governance steps. So Eden is as an extra tool in their governance. So, but in saying that, I've been doing some work, but it doesn't, I would say, I would push for Marco. You're consistent. I haven't done a whole lot on that front. I'm just pushing the agenda forward. So
I'm going to change my vote to Duane because it's more aligned with the stuff that I'm working on. We want to go out to other communities, and actually, Duane, I have a call tomorrow with some people that are kind of doing the same thing that you're doing. I can reach out to you after this if you'd like to join that call tomorrow at 14 UTC.
okay, that sounds perfect.
Awesome.
Do we have consensus on Duane?
I think that with Jesse's vote, then we do, and also Duane just voted himself as well, I think. So I think so. And of course, Marco, your contributions are very much appreciated as well.
Marco, what's your EOS account?
Okay, he posted in the chat. So now we have consensus on the relative contributions in the community, and now we get to the new part with picking delegates, and we have, I guess, 15 minutes or so to do so, maybe 20 minutes. I'll have to look at the clock and figure out the math, but sweet.
Well, they're 55-minute rooms now, right?
55.
And we started at
13:15. 13:17 about. So we started 2 minutes late, 3 minutes late maybe. So
14:17. So 14:12.
Yep. So that means we have. Okay, so yes, we have a lot of time then. Okay, wow. Yeah.
We have 25 minutes. This was so I was in, but the last time I was here, I was in the room with oh man, I'm blanking on his name. Taras, who put this proposal for an extra 10 minutes. I personally have never used the full time. And I feel like we should be very cautious about increasing any of the time, especially if we're bringing new people in. So I would contest that we need the extra time. But of course, it's not a bad thing. You don't have to use it. If someone has to go, they can go. So I don't see that as a bad thing. But anyways, we have to pick the delegate. That's a totally separate topic. I am definitely interested in being a part of the governance process, especially since we're trying to very much use the Eden Fractal to bring in new members and increase election participation. And I feel like I'm pretty aligned with everything that's going on here. We just want to make it a safe and comfortable place for crypto enthusiasts to come and get paid to participate. This is like the main value prop, and this is what Eden Fractal is so good at. You guys have, or we have, all of the tools and the infrastructure in place, thanks to Vlad and James Mard and Dan and Felix, to execute this. And so it's already in place. That's why it made so much sense for me to think about using the Eden Fractal to onboard new people into Eden. And so, yeah, I am very much interested in being a part of that.
Yep, sounds great. Thank you, Jesse. And I agree. And I'm very happy that you're interested in playing this role with Eden Fractal and also with the governance too. Yeah, so well, for one thing, I would like to discuss what you mentioned about the timing at some point. We don't have to get into it now, but I think you make an interesting point there. And there's a lot of different nuances that are helpful to explore. And I do agree, like there is a lot of value to the brevity as well. But yeah, we can get into that later. I'd also like to be elected as a delegate here as well too, although I think Jesse would do a great job too. One thing I'd be curious about, Jesse, is how much you've been following the recent proposals. And how closely you've been following the discourse about it, because I do think that I mean, I think that your attitude, your mind, and your goals and your vision, like we're very much aligned. But the delegate, it'd be best if delegates are also like quite informed and following it quite closely too. And I know you're very busy with the piece. I'd be interested to hear how much time that you've had to think about these things, and then also how much time you expect that you'll have to think about these things in the future. I suppose I can just leave it at that for now if you'd like to respond.
Yeah. So first thing, from what I understand of Tadas's proposal, these are not permanent roles. They're 4-week terms, I suppose. Okay, sure, you're nodding. That's correct. I just want to make sure that's correct.
Yes.
I reviewed the consortium proposal. I understand that we want to, I mean, it's very valuable to signal intent from a community. And I do agree and support the proposal to use consortium to signal that intent. And I read Tadas's proposal and I loved it. I think it was a great way to make decisions. And I plan on, if I'm elected, I plan on reviewing certainly all of the proposals that come in.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jesse. So yeah, Jesse would like to be elected. I'd also like to be elected too, and I can share some of my thoughts and about the value that I think I'll bring as a delegate if I'm elected. But first, I'd like to also ask too, is anybody else interested in being elected as a delegate here?
I'm not this week, but I'd like to say, bring up the most important point. How familiar are you with the with being proposed? The only thing I'll add is influence. You have an extraordinary amount of influence in the community, though not totally unopposed, which is nice. So those are really the only two factors I see. I don't see anybody with greater understanding of what's trying to move forward. So I'll put that there. But that said, I think Jesse would do a good job as well. The only caveat is your influence.
Yeah, good point, Marco. And yeah, influence does play a big role, and it's also helpful to remember that these are all signals to some extent, and it's all kind of informal influence because right now there's no formal power. But also certainly anybody who's not elected as delegate still has lots of opportunities to both influence the whole community and share their thoughts, and then influence delegates as well.
So on the influence point, if you watch the election room, I dedicated 15% of my chief delegate budget to go to the Eden Fractal. And I feel like I should be in a governance role if I'm donating funds from my chief delegate budget. I just think it makes sense to have our interests aligned.
Yeah.
Well, I take a different point of view when it comes to influence, in that I'm always breaking it down. And I'll say this: anyone who has an official position and a higher position, they would go along with it. In the Eden, we should consider it if it's like having a senator or a congressman, if it should be barred. I'm not saying we do it, especially since these aren't long terms at all. But I'm saying we put that out there. I do that quite often, provide the options, and raising voices, things like that. So I'm not saying we do it, but it's definitely worth discussing. Especially since we don't have term limits, I think, yeah. Definitely.
Well, the term limit is 4 weeks, basically.
Yeah, there are term limits. Yeah.
I mean, repeats.
You mean the fact that people can be elected twice?
Infinitely. So because people can be elected time and time again, and having the same person on the Eden quarterly election versus the Eden weekly, that could lead to cults or groups and helpful groups. I'm not saying we do that, because again, these are short term. If it doesn't go that way, that's great. But I'm saying it's worth the discussion.
Good point. Thank you, Marco.
Sorry, I was a bit distracted, and I've got the exterminator here. Can someone mind summarizing with?
Yeah,
Marco
just just something for us to consider is there's short terms of 4 weeks, but there's no limit of those terms that might have to be looked at in case we have incumbents that just kind of take over the process or stick in there. So something.
Oh, like someone getting voted in every time.
Yeah.
Not just someone, groups.
Right, groups. Right.
Yeah. I have a.
Well, we can use a randomization process. Maybe like 1 out of the 4 weeks. It's just random. It's an idea.
Potentially, although I also think that with this system, like that's not necessarily a flaw in the system. There are, certain people who have demonstrated great and deep thought and seem very aligned with the community. And at every single room, people have the opportunity to voice their opinion on who they wanted to delegate. So for example, at the DOS, at some point, Vlad made a joke of electing Tadas as a dictator because Tadas was sharing a bunch of good ideas, and then he shared the Eden plus Fractal process too. And I think there's a good chance that Tadas will get elected as a delegate in his room right now. And I think that he'll probably do, whenever he does get elected as a delegate, I think he'll probably do a good job of acting in the best interest of the community generally and exercising good thought. And if people want to elect Tadas, 4 weeks in a row, then they can. It's something to consider. Like, you're probably going to be less likely, or maybe less likely, to elect a leader 4 times in a row than you would just once, because you also don't want to be too centralized. But it's something that groups can dynamically figure out as they go, and we don't have to concern ourselves too much with that right now.
I may have a misunderstanding. If, let's say, Tadas is elected in week 1, he's already part of the council for 4 weeks. So then wouldn't he in week 2 not be eligible because he's already on the council?
No, the current way it's designed is that there are essentially 4 different councils. So he'd be on the council for week 1, and then there'd be a council that forms for week 2, and then Tadas could be in that council again, or anybody could be in that council
Oh,
again.
I see.
And then in order to reach consensus, then you have to have 3 out of 4 councils reach consensus.
Got it. Okay, never mind. Okay.
Two points here. The main motivating idea behind mine was having someone elected as an Eden delegate or chief delegate. So the quarterly election and the weekly. The other thing is motivation. And there's already been complaints about people coming in and not liking the idea of kind of people already have biases, or they have little groups and things like that. And we're small, so it's to be expected. But if we don't consider, we don't, because we're so small, if we don't consider a blindness in group thought, then maybe too late to really make it attractive. People want to come in and believe that their work is going to be well receptive. It's going to be independently receptive. It's not going to undergo the same scrutiny of single-mindedness from time to time. And a lot of that is either subconscious or just in the cultural behavior. So we do need to keep that in mind. And again, just a topic for discussion. I thought the Eden quarterly versus the fractally weekly is a good dividing point. So anytime we can see administered dividing points, there might be something. The other thing I was, as far as Tadas' governance proposal, I really strongly thought of you can only have 1 vote per council. So once you're elected, that's it in there. And I didn't fully think it through, but I know there is potential for error there. I did, but I don't know how to play out. Again, something to continue to stay on top of. It's not something to forget. Anyway.
Just one comment on the idea of long extending terms. It could be easily argued that I should no longer be an Eden chief delegate because I've been elected too many times. So now I'm taking away opportunity. My counter argument, which I suppose you could just say is just self-defense, but I think that this election process is, for all the reasons articulated in Dan's book, one of them is it doesn't allow for incumbency, because I don't change the rules to benefit myself. If I become elected over and over again, it should be because of merit, right? Or reputation, which works both ways. If I turn into a dickhead, then I shouldn't be voted. But I'm doing a good job, then I should be voted. And I think that same thing would apply here, where if you trust this process and you can trust the wisdom of the crowd, then there should be no reason for term limits.
We don't have wisdom of the crowd, though. According to Dan's book, these are too small. And that's, again, why I bring up the discussion.
What defines a crowd?
It was defined by numbers and certain numbers in Dan's book. The ideas was to have.
What is it, though? This is a crowd.
There was a
small
certain
crowd.
amount of quota. No, there was a certain number for the statistics.
Is that science?
Yeah, there was a number in that. I think it was.
So Marco's referring to Dunbar's number, which it's not
30 or 60.
It's not defining. Dunbar's number does not
That's
define
150. It's a limit to the maximum size of people you can form a confident relationship with. So that doesn't define a crowd. It's not like saying we're not doing it right until we've got 150 people. That's actually just a limit to how many people we can form a normal relationship with.
But Chris,
so
what term limit are you referencing?
Just the idea that I've been elected a few times now, right? So maybe that should be just it. You can be a chief delegate, like in traditional politics, where incumbents do change the rules to benefit themselves, right? So there is no true incumbent advantage here, because what's my advantage in the next election? There's no rule that says, oh, I'm gonna have a better chance of winning. The only reason I might have a better chance of winning is because I've done a good job and people know who I am. I mean, I guess you could punish someone for that, but I would argue that if someone's doing a good job, then why not have them keep doing that good job? Like, why would you want?
But no one's saying to punish someone for that.
Oh, that's what a term limit would be. So a
There-
term limit
there-
would be
there
limiting
are-
your ability to do
Right,
something. So it'd be
but-
like a soft punishment.
But
They're clear
are
managerial.
we saying
models.
in the Eden Fractal that we're doing term limits? This is, I just don't, I'm not, I don't, where's the connection?
I thought that's what Marco was suggesting. There should be perhaps this consideration of limits, but maybe not. I was just, it was just the idea of term
only
limit. It came up in Eden. That's all.
Only because we're
Okay.
only because we're so small. Consider our militaries are formed from squads to those sizes matter. That's what groups can do because of how closely they interact. And that's the point I'm making. And I'm pretty sure that's clearly defined in Dan's book that the fractal needed to grow to a certain size for the process to work. Otherwise, we might as well use a different mechanism.
I don't know that the whole idea is you have a room of 4 to 12 people in Dan's book.
But it's not-
I mean,
it's not just a
and the
room.
process works.
It's
But
not
that's what,
just a
but we're
room,
only
it's a
working
group.
within a room. But it doesn't matter about the group. Is the rational ignorance part means that it only matters about this particular room. Anything else
Well,
is irrelevant.
Consider,
the point, right?
consider
So, guys,
being elected to a chief delegate. You have certain levels to go through. The more people are involved, the more levels you're going to get through.
Right, we're debating a point where we need to pick a delegate.
Yeah, we only have
by
7 minutes left.
7
I vote for
minutes.
Dan.
Let's just hear from Jiyon as well. You had his hand up.
I was kind of saying about a suggestion for this. So I'm saying one should not be selected if he's selected for say 10 times. So I think there are four councils. So a person cannot be present at more than 2 council at once, or maybe like something like that. And then now just select someone.
Yeah.
We discuss that later.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. I think we discuss that later, and I think that yeah, it's an interesting discussion. But as Jesse said, I think that we should probably focus on just selecting the delegate right now because we only have 6 minutes left. But thank you for the thoughts, and thanks also Marco for voting me as well too. I haven't really given any sort of pitch for myself yet, so I'll just briefly do it in like a minute or 2 or so, and then we can decide from there. Jesse, I want to say thank you very much. I think I already said it several times, but thank you very much for everything you're doing, and then also for supporting Eden Fractal with some of your chief delegate funding too. I'll also just make it clear that I'm also supporting Eden Fractal with funding as well. So far I've committed, or so far I've sent 2,500 EOS to Eden Fractal, and the remaining part of my previous chief delegate funding, it's still for the benefit of Eden Fractal. I was talking with Vlad about maybe compensating Vlad for building some of the tools I think would be really helpful, especially one of the tools is potentially I'm aligned with what you're saying as far as being careful with legalities, and I think that one of these tools to make funds claimable rather than sent directly could be very helpful to reduce liability for people. I've also been here from the beginning. I started Eden Fractal and I made the original proposal, and I've been thinking about this for back since the intro of Workable Animals for a year and a half, and we're working on this constantly for the past 5 months. And then I've also been very engaged with the whole process of consensus process and how we make consensus and governance decisions this week. So I did the podcast with Tadas, talked with him for a while. I talked with Vlad about many of these things for a while. I did the past 2 town halls on video talking about this, as well as all the other town halls in the past. And yes, I'm constantly researching that. And I think we're very aligned in our vision, Jesse. And so I think it'd be good either way, but I think it's probably for the best of the group if I was the delegate here. And I'd be happy to represent you how you wish and communicate very closely. I think we probably make the most decisions the same. I've also made like 7 proposals so far. So I would like to kind of advocate for these proposals, and I think that they're really in the benefit of the community. I'm happy to share links. I put together a couple links. I guess you guys have probably already seen this already, but these are just some things that I've written and some recent town halls where you can learn more if you guys haven't seen it. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. And I don't know, so far I know Marco said he didn't want to, I think, but is anybody else interested in being a delegate?
Not this week. I propose we vote the same way in the chat.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Is everybody ready? Or does anybody have any questions or anything? I'm ready as well.
Ready for what?
3,
Wait, hold on, Jesse. Marco said ready for what? So what Jesse just proposed is that we'll do
Yeah,
it
we
the
can
same
do,
way
we
in
can
the
do
chat.
this open. It's a
So
different, no, it's a different mechanism. Let's do it, let's do it different. It's a delegate, let people speak up.
Yeah, so this is voting for the delegate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So we're gonna do it in the chat like we do it on the ranking.
Okay.
Let people speak up. This is different.
Yeah, we only have like
This
3 minutes
is,
left though, so I think people can speak up, but also just putting it in the Zoom chat might be the most efficient way to do it as well.
Yeah, get us started at least.
Okay, cool. Is everybody ready then?
All right. Yep.
3, 2, 1, and go.
yeah, consensus.
Okay, cool.
Thanks
everyone.
I just wanted to state an opinion that I wanted to see Jesse in there. But I just know that between Jesse and yourself, the collaboration that's already happening, that you guys will be working together. And I just would urge everybody in this the next week to see Jesse in there as well, because the signal to the larger community, right? Dan, you've done an amazing job, and we all just showed you that that we care about you and that we respect you, that you've done all this work. I really urge Jesse for a signal to the larger community to do all the things he's doing, because he's bringing people into the group, and I think he can have maybe a lot bigger reach. So if anyone's in the room next week with Jesse, I'd let's get him in there as well.
Thank you, Duane. I appreciate it a lot, and I second that as well.
Yeah, that's the same as same for me. I think this week I'm going with Dan because he's been here. He's been more present here, so that's the reason. So I respect that. He's doing a lot of things, and yeah, he put together a lot of proposals and stuff. Yeah, and I would totally vote for Jesse also, but for now, for this group, I think I'm going with Dan.
Thank you, Jiyon. Yeah, and I also I'll just also to amplify what you guys were saying too. I think that Jesse, like, he's doing great work in general, and I think he'll make a great delegate too. And so I definitely encourage people to vote for Jesse in next week and in future weeks as well. Cool. So yeah, I'll wrap it up in like a minute. I'll hit the button. Thanks everybody for the great meeting. This was fun and this was interesting and lots to discuss. But I feel like overall this is I feel like overall this went well, and it brings another element to the process that's very helpful.
Likewise, Dan. Yeah, looking forward to seeing all the great proposals that come up.
Cool. Sounds great. Jorn asked if somebody put the ranks in the chat. I'll work on that.
Looks like it went through.
And this is group number 2. Okay, cool. I will close the breakout rooms now. We'll have a minute remaining. keep on doing what you... Hey everyone.
What's up, guys?
Hope that everybody enjoyed their first delegate round. I'd be interested to hear what people think about that. There was also some discussion beforehand too. I made a couple proposals and Jesse shared something that he'd like to talk about too. So we can figure out the best way to orient the meeting and the best way to the best way to structure the meeting and so forth. But first I see Jorge has his hands up.
Thank you. Before we start, we were talking about something that I find really could be powerful for the community. It was Thomas who was proposing that each of our proposals be published on Hive, and we all as a community upvote that Hive post, whatever the proposal is, and no matter if it doesn't matter if it is accepted or not, just vote for that proposal, we as a community, or comment on it, so that each proposal gets some reward from the Hive ecosystem, some Hive dollars, so that we can generate a stream of revenue. And I just realized that we can amplify that if we do some swarming on Hive, so that we use the swarming community from Jesse, so that instead of operating only on Twitter, we operate also on Hive, and we get a revenue from that ecosystem, and we bring that revenue to this Eden Fractal. I wanted to put that on the table before it gets forgotten. Thank you.
Hey, Jorge. To move to another platform certainly takes resources and processes from our end. I think it's a great idea. Right now, we are only on Twitter. But thank you for sharing the idea. I haven't thought about it. And it's something that hopefully in the future we'll be able to offer to the community.
Thanks, Jorge. Thanks, Jesse. Tadas?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm working on an idea which would allow fractals to use existing crypto-based social networks like Hive to generate rewards like this. So that's we'll share it. I hope soon enough, and so that would allow something similar that you were describing, that Jorge just described.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you, Das. I'm looking forward to hearing more about the idea. I see Sebastian is entering the waiting room. Yeah, so I'd like to make some comments regarding our way of reaching consensus and cooperating and talking, and a little bit about last week's meeting and this week's meeting and how we should conduct this week's meeting to give everyone the best experience possible and also be as productive as possible in passing good proposals. So last week's meeting was a little bit chaotic, and as we were trying to get together a consensus process and so forth, we should do a lot better, and we can use these new tools like the Eden plus Fractal process and Consortium and potentially Hive and different tools to help structure our time. Also, I'd like to say, as a host of this as well, I'm doing my best to give everybody the best experience possible, and I didn't really like the fact that yesterday or last week, I feel like a lot of people were stressed out after the meeting. We should be feeling great after the meeting and should be feeling we're really productive. So I've been really busy working in the background on getting a lot of these proposals, like writing them out and so forth. And so, I'm wanting to try to help host it with consensus of the community, but like we hadn't had a process established about how we did these things. Like last week, I appreciated Felix was aiming to help moderate it, but we also didn't have an agreement upon how we were going to moderate and how we were going to structure our conversation. And so like it was all sorts of chaotic, really. So one of the things I did this week that I think will be really helpful for the community is I made 3 new proposals on Consortium. One of them is, should we use, well, I did this last week actually, should we use Consortium as a signaling tool? The second proposal is, should we post all proposals on Consortium? And the third one is, should we prioritize proposals with more votes on consortium during the meetings after the breakout rooms? So I think that this also helps satisfy some of the things that you were aiming to do, Jorge, and also could potentially add revenue streams in addition to helping the community cooperate better. I'm also working on like new tokenomic plans. There is a govern token, and I talked with Vlad about how we could perhaps spread out the govern token with people in the community and then have aligned interest with that more. Already people who are in Eden already can claim govern tokens, 250,000 govern tokens, which is quite a significant portion. I'm also going to get new tokenomics about how people can earn Eden tokens by posting on consortium. Like there could be prediction markets, stuff like that. But that's also kind of getting a little bit more in advance. I'm working on a presentation to show how these things could work, and I'm looking forward to sharing that soon. But for now, I think the potential of profiting or having revenue streams is a great thing to consider. But really, I think that the most immediate priority is just to use tools and come to consensus as a community to organize these meetings better. So I'm happy to screen share at some point. I see Felix and Marco and Jesse have their hands up too. So I'll probably stop talking in a moment, and then I can share the presentation or share the visuals. I'll share the links in the chat again, but I would like to advocate and discuss this idea of using consortium as a signaling tool. I think it's super helpful. And then during meetings, we can use proposals to be like, hey, should we focus on this proposal for the next half hour? And then we can all vote on it. Or, hey, should we be more respectful when each other are raising your hands? And then we can vote on it and so forth. Yes, Jorge, I have a document where we can read the proposals, and I'll share the links right now. And thank you for the comment. Yeah, but basically I'll share those links now and then I'll pass it on. And I think that if we start using consortium more as a signaling tool, Vlad does an awesome job of building this tool, and I've been working with Vlad on this for a long time. I think it's incredibly helpful, and it can be really like a perfect fit in many ways for the Eden Fractal. And then we can post all our proposals on there as well, so that all proposals are written out. People clearly understand what the proposals are aiming to do, and people have time in advance to look at them. It'll make people more informed and so forth. And then in addition to that, we can also organize the structure of the meetings according to which proposals get more votes. And then Tadash shared a great comment in the Discord earlier today about how there's many other questions we want to answer and so forth. So I think that this is a great thing to discuss as a start, and then we can figure out better ways to use consortium and do a hive or different tools in the future. And with that, I'll post those links. Thank you, Patrick, actually, for posting those links, and I'll pass it on after Felix. Thank you.
Yeah, and I second that, Dan.
Thank you, Marco.
Okay,
I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Dan. Yeah, so I guess some quick comments to go off of what you said, Dan. Well, okay, so first, I guess we've extended the meeting 15 minutes, it seems. So I don't know how are we waiting till 3 weeks to actually start proposing things, or I think we can maybe potentially vote on some things that like clarify some of like Todis's proposals, so we can do things until we have the full council. So here in 2 weeks. But like some quick thoughts is like, for example, so we extended 15 minutes, right? Ideally, I do think it would be efficient if we finish the breakout rooms at the top of the hour. So if that means that we have to start the breakout rooms at 8 a.m., if we're going to have the extra 15 minutes, I think we should do that. That's just, we got to be efficient with people's times. So, partly, we did agree, even though it was very kind of informal on meeting, that we were going to use the post hour, like have a cutoff time to pitch and propose proposals. So that's what I stuck to last week. And so, at the end of the hour, that's it. And that's how I'm going to continue to treat this Eden Fractal. I think we need to. Some things that I have in mind for proposals that I would like just to throw out here and then, bounce some ideas around is I think we need to have multiple Eden Fractal meetings throughout the week. We need to figure out some way so that we can open up participation to the entire Eden community, so that when we go into Eden term 5, there's no excuse for any delegate, anyone that's running. They have to have some type of like participation within the community, and if we are able to open up the amount of times, then there should be really no excuse. And I really like what I've been pitching with the Eden Fractal is like, this is a feature of Eden as a whole. This is not a separate thing of Eden. Like, I don't like that people are trying to separate the two. Like, this is just a feature. This is the reputation part, right? This is who wants to show up, show their commitment, share their contributions. You get ranked for it. And then when we go into the Eden term elections, you're able to use that as a metric to be like, hey, this is what the community has been showing. I've been showing up. And then it helps with anyone who may come in with a strong proposal, maybe really polished and like a good salesman, but if they had no participation at all within Eden and nothing to back it, why are we going to be voting for them to be a representation of our community? So those are just kind of my thoughts of where I'd like to see things going. But as far as the proposal, I'd like to know, like with what we accepted with Tadas, what are we going to be doing as far as, are we just going to wait, I guess, till 3 weeks until we start submitting proposals, or do we want to vote here in the next 2 weeks on some smaller things? And that's kind of like an open-ended question, but also, yeah, Tadas, yeah, please feel free to respond.
Since no one's talking, I'll just say one thing real quick. I think I was just typing in the chat, but this is, if we're, one of the things that came up is that Eden, because it's a DAO, there's no official anything of Eden, right? So this isn't an official thing of Eden. It really is just it is separate from Eden. It's just a voluntary group of individuals who happen to mostly be Eden members that get together. So I think it's nuanced, but it's important to recognize that this isn't anything official to do with Eden. It's just something that Eden members are doing voluntarily. And so I don't think any Eden member should be compelled or feel like they should be joining this. It's kind of separate, I think, right?
Well, I agree to a certain extent. I'm using this as an option to be like, hey, anyone in the Eden community, like we don't have weekly Eden community events. This is an Eden weekly community event, right? A lot of us are Eden members. We're doing it. And so, yes, it is. I agree. Everything that we do is all initiative based. And then, based off the response, that's how we know which direction to move in. Obviously, we've picked up something here with the Eden Fractal. And so my whole thing is like, let's just use this process now. And I agree, though, some of the thoughts I've been thinking about is like, we do need to think about the token distribution a little bit. For us who've been in the Eden Fractal from the beginning, it's given us a head start, but really should it be like that? I do think we need to respect everyone who's put in the time and the amount of respect that we've accumulated, but we also need to take in the history of Eden, who's been here from the beginning, the different, I think ways that we can capture something with assigning some token to also incentivize Eden members to come participate here is to think like, okay, if you've participated in a meeting, you get, X many of respect tokens because you were there. And for every single meeting we've had, like, these are just some ideas, obviously. But thinking about the tokenomics, I think is something that that's how we can get more inclusive with Eden as a whole. Because I definitely see that there's some Eden members may feel like, oh, well, I wasn't in it from the beginning, so why am I going to be playing catch up? And that makes sense. And that's a fair point, right? If you've been, a part of it from the beginning, but you didn't join the Eden Fractal, you shouldn't have to be playing catch up if you've been, providing good contributions to Eden. Obviously, though, this is a big proposal and this community has to also reach some type of agreement. But these are just kind of where my head is, because I just think the bigger goal is to align this community as a whole.
I both agree and disagree with Felix and I guess what Chris was saying. The basis is if you're going to be elected as a leader of this community, you need to demonstrate some sort of impact or contribution to this community. And the fractal definitely fits that because work is being done to advance Eden. So if you're not in the fractal and you're running for a top spot in the quarterly terms, then you need to demonstrate some other way. Not just promises. I know it's about promises, who's going to fulfill it, but at this point, we want contributors, and just being here, as Dan Larimer said, is something. You're an expert in the history or whatnot. It's something if you've been here forever. And if you're new, then maybe you got to bring something in, whether it be a great idea and willingness to follow through on it. And one of the ways to do that is to come here. So if someone's got a great idea, who's going to present it at the election, who's had that idea circulating in chats and stuff, and is not coming to the fractal, we can definitely question that. And we can amplify what Felix has said. But, I just raised my hand because I wanted to back up Jorge on, I guess it's not trademark, but I'll credit it to bees swarming to Hive. If anybody has assets on Hive, an account on Hive, I do. I'll back any effort there. Whenever I see the bees, even though I'm not notified now, I don't know how big it's gotten, I still retweet it, like it, and stuff like that. But that's all going to the people at Twitter. And not all of it, but the influence is there. So why not expand the influence on Hive, even if it's like shooting craps? You know, maybe get lucky, find somebody an interested party, and if it brings in one new member, great. It doesn't take long to upload a post about it. So there's just a list, a quick way to do that. Any effort there, I'll back it.
I'd like to respond to that. And so a few things. First, Marco, if you're not getting the swarm notifications, please DM me and we'll fix that. The idea, so Felix, I see this as an option to participate in Eden. And yes, it could be used as a signaling tool for those who care about elected delegates participating in Eden. They can use this as a tool to see who is participating. Obviously, you can do, to Chris's point, you don't have to come here. You can do things outside of this group and still contribute to Eden. So I think there's a lot of value here where you can come and participate. And of course, there's incentives here. From what I understand, this is really the only place where there's some financial incentives to participate. And I think that's amazing. Now, one of the concerns is, like I mentioned before, is this liquidity pool. And when you, we've all heard in the news of the CFTC going after DAOs for doing certain activity that the government is not okay with. And the basic point is that if you have the, and this was something that Vlad had mentioned in the Eden election room, that if you have the Eden token and you're only distributing the Eden token, and then you have a liquidity pool where you can exchange that into EOS, the liquidity pool, so when you have a liquidity pool, you have a market maker, and market maker needs licensing to become a market maker. So you potentially, and I have to do more research on this, but if any of the Eden Fractal members that receive the Eden token and exchange that for EOS could be liable to enforcement action. And so this is the concern. So we've been receiving EOS and Eden. I am very passionate of voting for keeping it that way, so members can have an option to incur that liability. And so I'd like to get some feedback on that.
Thank you,
I
Jesse.
like the option. That's nice.
Are you talking about different jurisdictions?
Yeah, so different jurisdictions have different rules on who can be a market maker and what licensing is required to be a market maker. And based on the legal precedents of the CFTC and the recent enforcement actions, any member that is participating in this service that's deemed illegal is liable. And in this case, it would be participating in this liquidity pool.
Right. And okay, so that's like just in the US, or is this like a global phenomenon?
So the CFTC is in the US, but what often happens is it's copied. So these governments around the world, sorry for that loud ding there. These governments around the world, they copy what goes on in the US, some of their enforcement actions. It may or may not happen, but it's just a risk that I see that is not necessary to incur on our members. If we just keep it how it is, where you get EOS and Eden, and you give the option of exchanging that Eden into EOS, then you don't have to do that. So you could still get EOS. So EOS is like the gold, like crypto standard here. I would like my funds that I'm donating in EOS to be directly distributed to Eden Fractal members in EOS. And that would, I think, satisfy that liability. But again, I'm going to do some more reading on this, but I started, and this is what I found so far.
So
Alright.
Jesse, peer-to-peer
Makes
though is
sense.
fine, is what you're saying. So if I like, so basically the liquidity pool is where it could get us like in some legality issues. But if somebody were to send, like, I want to buy you respect, so I'm going to send you some EOS, and that's a peer-to-peer swap.
Yes.
There's no, which I think that would make sense, right? That'd be hard to crack down on, because we could say,
Yes.
well, okay, yeah. I mean, quick thoughts on the liquidity pool is I think that's probably down the road if we consider that, as far as where I'm at. Yeah, because I think we need to be able to bring on some people who really understand, like, okay, let's, we got to do things within the bounds of regulation, so that we're not running in fear. We know we're doing everything right, but obviously too, regulation, if it's overreaching, then we're gonna have to put a team to fight that regulation, but we got to do it in the right way. But I think we're not there until we're powerful enough here, as a community, to be able to pay for that, probably, lawyers and whatnot, of what we need to be able to deal with that. So yeah, I agree. I think what we're doing right now is good. I'm looking at this very much as just more of a reputation system, and we're getting EOS out into the hands of people.
Yep. Thanks for the great thoughts, Jesse and everyone. I very much appreciate you bringing that to everybody's attention. And this is something that it's important for everybody to understand, to think about in the Eden Fractal. I've been thinking about this a lot for a while. Yesterday I had a meeting with Vlad, asking him if he can redesign the contract, the Eden.Fractal service smart contract, so it doesn't distribute tokens automatically, but it makes tokens claimable. That's how the Eden election contract works, and that reduces liability in many ways. So that's something that Vlad's exploring, and we'll keep talking about as one way to reduce liability. I recommend, if anybody's not following, to follow along what's going on with Fractally and the Genesis Fractal. During the past 2 Genesis Fractal meetings, there wasn't consensus meetings like there previously was for the past 30 weeks because of uncertainty about the regulatory environment. The video is not very publicly available, but if anybody would like to see it, then send me a PM and I can share it with you. And I recommend listening to that to understand the scope of these legal challenges and risks and so forth. Also, check out the Fractally Telegram group too. Matt Langston has shared several really well thought out articles where he's analyzing a lot of the current and recent regulatory actions and how fractals may want to respond to do that. In general, the laws are counterproductive for communities and humanity. Like, they're not well designed, they're misguided. They're something that, like, they're holding back communities from cooperating and helping each other. And so we need to be careful about them. We need to carefully consider how we want to proceed, because having a token and having a liquid token is very helpful. Like, the Fractally white paper outlines how this can greatly empower communities. And there's regulators who don't understand this right now. And we need to be careful, because there are potential penalties and people who are getting involved. Like, we want to give people a great experience when people join these meetings, and we want to make it so, people aren't taking on liability when joining the meetings. But we'll just have to balance it out, and there's a lot to discuss here. Thomas also wrote some really interesting article as well. I see Thomas has his hands up, so I'm interested to hear what Thomas thinks about this, or any other thoughts you have. And also Tadas has his hands up too, so I'll pass it over in a bit too. I don't know if you want to comment on this right now, Thomas. I saw you just unmuted.
Yeah, I do. So I'm a big believer. I've been following this all closely with the regulators and all this. I think, the practical solution is to, IBC is a hot topic, and there's technical IBC and connecting softwares and blockchains. And then I believe in human IBC. Like, that's what makes us special. We can, like an intergovernmental agency, we can do things differently. So, like, here's a practice. I believe in embedding ourselves and leveraging liabilities with other chains. Like, we could literally make this Eden token on the BitShares exchange. They have a smart coin factory. We could literally make the token there. We can set up a pool on BitShares, and just everyone else is setting up a pool on BitShares. Why can't we? And we could literally post, everyone in this community could post all their contributions on Hive, all be rewarded on Hive, send the Hive to a pool in BitShares and exchange it for our Eden token. I mean, we could all do that like now, you know, and we've just leveraged liability between EOS, Hive, and BitShares, and we're embedded deeply in three different ecosystems. Like, I mean, everyone else is making garbage tokens with multi-million-dollar caps that, like, you know, what we're using well-known existing blockchains, and we're deeply embedded in it now. I think that solves the liability issue, you know, for the most part. If, you know, if they come after, if somehow they pick us out of all these different DAOs and groups, then all right, what, they confiscate some funds? I don't know. We just participated in what everyone else is doing, and that could be done today, you know. So that's kind of just where my head is at, and I think that's what makes fractal governance special, you know. I think this fractal could be bigger than just being like connected to Eden. I mean, this is your guys' fractal. If that's what you want to focus on, that's fine. But I mean, I think we could go way bigger than that. But
Thank you, Thomas. Your audio broke up in the last like 2 seconds, but I think I heard everything you said, and appreciate you sharing your thoughts. And I agree. Well, I mean, first off, it's all of our fractal in a way. Like you've only been here a few times, Thomas, but I really appreciate you joining. And we're all here from pretty much the beginning. Like this all just started in the past few months. So we all have a choice in how we want to design this. And then of course we can also, with Eden Fractal, we can start many more fractals. If the Genesis Fractal isn't continuing in the way that they expected, then in a way the Eden Fractal is the Genesis Fractal. And so like what's attracted me to Fractally is like this can power all kinds of communities. I mean, many different reasons. Like it's been great seeing you guys and everything like that, but also like we can use this to empower a fractal for artists and musicians and all sorts of scientists and different things like that. And it's super, super helpful. And I think a big part of it dealing with these regulations is just telling our story well, showing the world why this is so helpful for everybody, and, you know, leading by example, showing really cool things that we do. I'll also share too in the chat, Thomas wrote an interesting article about strength in numbers too. There was an interesting discussion about civil disobedience. When the laws are bad, then it's moral to stand up and do the right thing. And when there's many people who are not obeying a corrupt law, then that is for the best of everybody in general. So that is something to consider. There's a lot of interesting stories about that with Henry David Thoreau and Gandhi and so forth. Vlad also wrote in the chat about how Satoshi engineered a solution that worked outside of regulation, and it's profoundly helpful for everybody. Vlad didn't put in those words, but that's something to consider as well. And I think that with this process that Tadas's design and the process that we're working with, it makes Eden Fractal quite decentralized and quite resilient, where it could keep on operating and so forth. And also too, Felix mentioned something about lawyers. So Tadas also mentioned too, there's no certainty from regulators at all. No one knows how they will change the laws. So something that I learned during the Genesis Fractal meeting is that the regulators in the United States are enforcing by enforcement, not by prior rules made. And apparently they also increased the statute of limitations to 10 years, which basically means that regulators can make up a law that wasn't previously there and enforce it retroactively. And they've done that apparently already. So no matter how much no matter how much research we do or how much we try to play by the rules, there's a chance that they could change. For example, Genesis Fractal spent a huge amount of money with Dan Larimer and Gregory Wexler and team talking a huge amount of money and time talking with really good lawyers, and they worked on the UNA agreement, the Unincorporated Nonprofit Association agreement. Gregory shared that. It's a 13-page document. I can share it soon. I'm working to collect all these thoughts, but we could potentially use that and do an unincorporated association. But apparently they were one UNA was recently sued as well. So even if we do an agreement like that seems to comply with all laws, then it could change. There were also some other thoughts that were brought up previously that I'd like to touch upon, but I've been gone for a while, and I'd love to hear Tadas's thoughts, and Jesse and Patrick and Jorge. So I'll give the floor to Tadas now.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, so the way I look at this issue, Dan's team, Fractal team, hired a whole bunch of lawyers, and we looked at this and we concluded that there is no way to issue a transferable token and get any sense of security. And right now, what I'm looking into, and I think it doesn't matter on which chain we issue it, it doesn't matter if we issue it on existing chains. So currently the solutions that I'm looking into is how to leverage existing tokens, which we already have liabilities in, like EOS, and using those tokens creatively by creating NFTs, for example, and in a way that would create basically the main thing we need a token for, I would say, is to fund the Fractal contributors. And I think there are creative solutions to achieve that without issuing a token. And it relates back to what I mentioned about Fractal using the existing social networks like Hive to fund itself. Yeah, so I hope to share more about my thinking soon. Yeah, so that's the direction I would think in. Thanks.
I'm totally aligned with Tadas that we need to use. So yes, there's no way to get legal protection from transferring for a transferable token. So we have to use tokens that already have been accepted by the legal powers that be, and that's EOS. And so I'm certainly not aligned with some of the sentiments here that like ignoring regulation and such. But as long as we can be just very conscious about how we're proceeding. And so I fully support Tadas's research. And I think it's great that we have all this work that's done by the Fractal LLC team. And I think we're going to be okay as long as we leverage all of the work that's done and all the tools that we have. And so, yeah, I just want to say thank you, everyone. I'm going to get going in a little bit, and I look forward to next week. And I'm very encouraged by some of the thoughts I've heard here, and I'll be here next week. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thanks, Jesse. Patrick?
Yeah, thank you everyone to be here today. Much respect and great out, by the way, by Jesse, Tadas, and everyone. The regulation part is something that is very coming totally crazy. At the head of those organizations, the people are very corrupted themselves. So better to be focused on ourselves here into the circle and grow the value of this circle and collaborate between us, collaborating between us into the circle, cooperate between us, and collaborate with other circles, connect with those other circles. I broke that since 6 months ago, that we have collaborative circles around EOS. There is not only Eden Fractal, there is not only Eden on EOS, there is not only Fractally, there is not only UFI movement by Maurice Vanegas, that is also a fantastic circle. You have a lot of circles. You can create yourself circles, like Jorge is creating into the Spanish community a circle, the Fractally one. Whatever happened with Fractally LLC, whatever happened with Daniel Larimer, whatever happens, we can collaborate, cooperate between us into this Eden Fractal and empowering Eden on EOS. But we are not the savior of other circles. We have also to be very independent. And that's that we are since 6 months that this Eden Fractal has begun. We are very focused on what we are doing. We have nice process now with Tada's process, the process of Dancing Joy also. That's very concrete. That's not metaphysical, not about metaphysics here. That's not a church. That's not a clan. That's not Jehovah. That's very concrete here. We are doing things very concrete. And we are together, we work together for a common goal. And this common goal is to have our independence, to be totally independent. And with Web3 solution like Antelope, and exactly, EOS is becoming very Web3. Eden on EOS also is becoming more Web3. Eden Fractal is coming also very Web3 oriented. What does it mean Web3, by the way? It's thanks to the data and the information that are turned into knowledge, the people can work together through decentralized application and smart contracts without to be dependent on someone else. So no incumbent advantages. We don't want incumbent advantages. By the way, it's what it is described in the Molecule Animal book by Daniel Larimer. I love Daniel Larimer, by the way. But we have to be very committed to the execution, because engineering, life, property, it's always beautiful, all that. But we have to be very focused. And here into this Eden Fractal, since 3 weeks now, more than ever, we are very committed. So I am very happy to be with you here and to continue to be committed into the EOS ecosystem. It's an everyone open society. It's an exponential operating system. That's not just words, that's not metaphysical, that's concrete. We can work with EOS if we want to. So don't count on anyone else, because all those organization, regulation, it's becoming something more and more complicated. That was already complicated 2 years ago. Imagine now where we are going. It's more and more complicated. So it's better to be very focused on ourselves. And the liquidity pool, by the way, it's a good solution to reduce liability. So I will finish here, but I would just give my opinion on that and why we are here.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks.
I have several things to say here. First of all, regarding this retroactivity from the supposed laws that they're going to emit, I'm pretty certain that such retroactivity would violate several others laws and treatises and even human rights. I will be completely amazed if 100 years ago people didn't agree that every law, in order to be enforced, need to be known in advance. So it looks to me more like fear-mongering than something that will really stand on the courts, on international law between countries and other people. So I remember here in Colombia several years ago, and we are talking a very corrupt and centralized government, something similar was trying to be implemented about the retroactivity of law, and it never passed. The reason being is that the same powers that be need to have certainty that they are playing by the rules. So they will never submit themselves to, within their power struggle that they always have themselves, they will never submit themselves to such uncertainty of having a possible law coming within 2 years that will affect everyone that did anything in the past. So it looks to me a lot like fear-mongering that we should really discard by the power of logic. It will not hold in any tribunal, nor international, nor local, nor federal, at least not in the mid or long term. That said, we have other issues. For example, if the government says that you need to have a license in order to provide liquidity, isn't it by that same reasoning admitting that these tokens have value and that they are somehow I mean, how can the government require a license to provide liquidity for a token that isn't legal? I mean, I see a kind of contradiction there. Do they have jurisdiction upon these tokens or don't they? First of all, do they actually have jurisdiction on the Eden token, for example? And that leads me to the issue of private tokens. I mean, I can see why the government will like to require a license in order to provide liquidity for a public token, for a public liquidity pool that anyone in the world can access, can have access to, or anyone within the United States. But for example, if I have a company, a private company, and within my company, I create a tournament, some kind of competition for my employees, and I create a tally of points so that they grade themselves, does the government have jurisdiction upon that private exchange of tokens?
Jorge, that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about a private. If we set up a liquidity pool, this is on the blockchain. Anyone can interact with it.
Yeah, and that's exactly my point. My point is that we could make this community private, invitation only, and we could make Eden, the whole Eden community, a more closed ecosystem so that anyone can join only by invitation. And then we can protect ourselves by going into a private, somehow private mode. And that's my second point. And my third point is, if I put myself in the shoes of actually protecting the people, I think the licensing for these liquidity pools should be more like being like making sure that whatever liquidity pool has a code that is being verified somehow for quality standards. And in order to do that, you have to have a license so that you prove that this code of this liquidity pool has some level of security, but not going to the level of preventing people from accessing those liquidity pools. I mean, not banning the people, but making sure that whoever creates the pool and opens the pool to the public has the correct quality and standards. Instead of and then after he has those quality standards, he can open the pool to the public instead of just menacing and threatening the public for entering something that is open. Which leads me to my last point, which is that we should really present this trading and these exchanges as exchanging as a human right, the right to trade and the right to exchange and the right to do finance. Those are my 4 points. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Jorge. I'm looking forward to listening to this again and more closely, just sitting with everybody's thoughts and thinking about more deliberating, because these are really important thoughts for us all to consider. I encourage everybody else to do it too. There's a couple of things I'd like to go back to. I think that's a really helpful conversation, but I know people have to go soon. And a couple of things I want to say that are related to prior conversations. Do you mind muting that, Jorge, or I can... there's some background noise. Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah. So I'm very excited to talk about this morning, and I really appreciate Jesse bringing this up and all the thoughts so far. But I'd also like to redirect it a bit to some prior discussions to make sure that we can discuss those today. If Felix or anybody else wants to bring it back to the regulatory talk afterwards, then that's cool, and I'll be relatively quick. But the couple different things I wanted to touch on. One, Felix asked before. You're wondering if we can vote on proposals before Tadas's proposal or before the Eden plus Fractal process that Tadas created. And I think that we absolutely can. So I wrote an article last week called Consensus, which talks about how right now both the Eden plus Fractal process and consortium and whatever other process we want to use to measure consensus, they're all signals for people to make decisions, and each individual has their own right to their own private property and how they act and so forth. So we can use these signals, like for example, consortium is fully functional right now. We can vote on consortium, and then if it gets a lot of votes on consortium and a lot of approval and so forth, then the community can decide to do things if there's seems to be general consensus and so forth, and individuals can take those signals and do what they see fit with. So I don't think there's anything that holds us back from passing proposals right now. I see Tadas, I think, is in agreement, and we talked about this a bit as well too. Tadas did an interview, a conversation earlier this week, and I'll be releasing it in the next couple of days where we'll talk about more about this. Also in the town hall, we talked about this as well. But yeah, I think basically if there are any proposals that we really want to pass right now, then we can, the best way to do it is put on consortium, or we can do it in some other way. But I think consortium is a tool that's really helpful. And then if there's sufficient consensus where everybody feels like it's enough of a signal, then we can go ahead and do proposals and so forth in the meantime as we boot up the Eden plus Fractal process. And Felix also mentioned the idea about 20 minutes to half hour ago about more, I think, widely distributing Eden to the EOS community and Eden members, and both like the potentially governance power in the community and also just like the Eden respect and so forth. And I agree. I've thought about that quite a lot. I made a proposal about that last week. I don't think we'll have time to get to it now, but I would just like people to think about it. First off, I'll share in the chat. EdenCreators.com/consensus has the article about signals and how I think we can use both consortium and Eden plus Fractal together and how they're really complementary. I also shared more details about that in the Eden Discord a bit, so I'd appreciate hearing feedback about that. But if anybody hasn't checked out that article, I'd recommend check it out, as well as the recent town halls. And then here is a proposal that I made to distribute Eden to people in Eden elections. I think that this could be a great way to start. You know, like Felix was saying, not everybody has time to participate or hasn't been able to participate in these Fractal meetings on Wednesdays, but there's a lot of people who have participated in Eden elections who I think are deserving of respect from the Eden community, as well as other things like potentially EOS community fireside chats and so forth. So this was kind of a first step saying, what if we distributed some Eden tokens to people who participate in Eden elections for this election, and then it's just a first step proposal. We can discuss it at another time when it seems right. But I think in the longer term, like we could potentially do retroactively Eden disbursements to everybody who's participated in past Eden elections, as well as potentially people who participate in fireside chats and things like that. Like we could figure out the best way to disperse it, because I think that overall the Eden community and the Eden Fractal community will be much better off when we can share the Eden token and rally around the Eden token for everybody. And then I think also the Eden reputation system that Mosey, DS, and Setcheat, and Lovejoy, and Chuck can also work very well with this as well. Also, I've been going for a bit, but I would just like to add a quick thing. I'd like to share my screen real quick, because I'd like to just show you the consortium screen, if that's all right with everybody. So I'll share it real quick. If anybody wants to jump in, then feel free, but I'll be quick and try to be as expedient as possible to just provide a good experience. You guys can see my screen now, right? Cool, thanks. Yeah, so, and so this is consortium.vote. If you go to the Eden Fractal, so far this only has 6 votes. So I'd be curious, and there's 2,000 Eden, which is about 25% of Eden. And so far this, it's wide agreement, but I'd be curious if anybody has thoughts about consortium, if there's any, if you have any like issues or concerns with it, or just ideas about it or anything like that. I know I just put it up a week ago and people are busy, but I think this could be a really helpful tool. So I encourage everybody to go to consortium.vote, click on the links that I shared in there, and vote to signal your support or share your thoughts if you think that we should do it a different way or something like that. But I do think this can be really helpful for the community. I made this proposal to use consortium as a signaling tool. And then last night I put up a proposal. So far just been me, one other person voted to post all proposals in consortium. I think that this will be really helpful for the community, as I was saying before, to post all proposals on consortium. And then also, I think it could be helpful to organize our time by whatever proposals get the most votes. And that kind of works a little bit similarly what Jorge was talking about. And then one other thing I'll mention too, Jorge and Marco were talking a bit about voting on Hive. And I think that like Hive is a great tool, but we're best off using EOS tools if we can. And I think we have a lot of great EOS tools. So last week, I also made a proposal. And once again, I think that this proposal can wait till next week or a couple weeks from now to really get into more details. But basically, I made a proposal to launch Eden Talk. I set up a BBS. BBS is a great tool that's built on EOS. All the posts are on EOS. And I have a plan, a basic proposal where people can earn Eden tokens by and potentially EOS tokens. I'm also planning to seed like maybe 500 EOS for 100 EOS weekly reward for using Eden Talk for each week. So people can check out edentalk.com, and I'll share the links in the chat as well, where people can make posts and you can post proposals there in addition to consortium and just post any ideas. There's also a chat and stuff like that. And I think pretty soon we can start issuing Eden rewards so people can earn Eden and earn EOS and earn respect and so forth by making great posts that are helpful for the community. You can also check out edencreators.com/talk for an introduction to how this can work. And then there's a FAQ and a couple other resources here as well. So I think that this could be a really helpful tool to use instead of Hive, and is on EOS, and we can earn a lot. But a lot of thoughts there. I just wanted to share those. We could also potentially earn with consortium, as I was saying before, but now I will pass it on to Felix, and thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Okay, yeah, I guess I'd like to get some clarity here. I mean, we got 2 weeks, right? But still, I think we should have somewhat of an itinerary for the post hour so we can be organized with the next hour. So I guess my main first not concern, but thing to talk about is the extension of the meeting, the breakout room being an extra 15 minutes. Is that really necessary? And if we do want to keep that, then can we do that just at the top of the hour? So we do finish at the top of the hour. So then we have the full hour post breakout. So like because we finished at 9:15. So, 1 hour, we got 10 more minutes of this meeting, but I think an hour is a good amount of time. But ideally, we would like to take that hour and break it up into an itinerary that we can stick to, so that we can all respect the time constraints that we can build out this itinerary of like talking times for everybody. But then I just think those are probably the next best step. So I'm interested to see like who was elected as like the council lead or the delegate for this meeting. So in our group 1, it was Patrick. So I know we got 2 other groups. Potentially, why not? Let's just try it right here. Let's see if those delegates are still here. Why don't we have them take a vote on the 15 minutes? Should we start it? Like, what are we doing with 15 minutes? Should we continue to keep that in as added time to our breakout rooms? And if so, can we start at 8? I know that's a little bit of a lot, but like kind of talking through that, if we can kind of let's explore this process, even though it's not full 3-week council. Let's see what our council members would, kind of talk it out. But ideally, I would like to leave here in the next 10 minutes to keep it at an hour. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm putting out there. So I guess, yeah, feel free to jump in.
Real quick, I'd like to get people to really remember what not just Eves, but all the panelists at Token 2049 said. Future is multi-chain. So we must, if we have people who are part of the Hive community, it is our responsibility to use it. It's not a question. If we're not going to use Hive, then we're saying we are disagreeing with Eves and the panelists, because they all were clearly in agreement. And I've always believed the future is multi-chain. And more than that, we have to distance ourselves from being maximalists. And I know we have 2 tokens here, but whenever possible, we have to show a welcoming to other things. But if you doubt, if you don't understand the magnitude of multi-chain, I encourage you to watch that part of the video at Token 2049 and see how everybody responded. not the first time. This is just the way it is.
Yeah, I can go next. If it's okay.
Yep, go ahead.
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, to your point, I think competition is like key still. So, I mean, to try to avoid it to be like completely trained of, yeah, of agnostic. Sorry, I can't find the word right now. Agnostic is not like, yeah, I think the key, because they are working on their products and we are working on our products. And the other thing I wanted to say is like this Eden Fractal thing is like really working well. I think like it looks good. It's productive, and the out. I think the intellectual output is bringing us forward. But I especially ask would like to ask Dan Singjoy, like I mean, marketing this is extremely yeah, I mean, what incentive, what kind of incentives would you give to people, you know,
I'm
to
not totally sure what you
join,
mean.
just to make the first step to join the Fractal Eden? Like, is it, I mean, let's just, I mean, Eden members will join. I mean, some EOS members will join, some Antelope members will join, some Havik members will join. But
Ideally, I think that
how do we spread the word, so to say? You know,
if you want to earn EOS, you just have to come participate in a meeting. You don't have to buy it, right? I think that's what that's a big differentiator from other well, cryptocurrencies in general, right? It's a lot easier. Like, we have to sell EOS. We as an EOS community need to do a better job with marketing too, right? We need to be telling people, our friends, putting them out there on shirts, all that good stuff, the normal marketing stuff. But now, instead of like when you market, or when you're telling your friends about cryptocurrency, they have to go and buy it. This is different though, because now we sell them on EOS, but it's like, look, you don't have to buy it though. You just have to come participate, and now you earn EOS. And so now you get exposure to cryptocurrency, and you don't have to pay anything other than your time. You get to experience it and then see what it's about. And I think that right there is like the key marketing like point that's going to be able to really bring in people, because as we like, when we're ready to bump things up, we just need to put a little bit more EOS into the pool that gets distributed out. And we can also, like, you know, we can, I definitely think, like, if we want a big turnout, there's ways to incentivize that turnout. We can say, hey, we got a raffle like of an NFT that's going to be backed by 100 EOS or something like that, and one lucky participant's going to get it. And we do it for a particular reason, right? Obviously a strategic reason, but that's how I'm seeing, like, that's our key marketing right there. It's like, hey, we got EOS on the line. You want some EOS? Come participate.
Yeah, right. But we don't have, well, I mean, I agree totally. Like, that's how marketing is done, just by public exposure. But we don't spend funding on this kind of stuff. Like, there are no posters hanging around promoting EOS, and there are no commercials promoting EOS on TV or on YouTube. Like, it's like, that's where the big promotion happens. And
I think that's where our pitch is to the EOS network, right? Because it's interesting. Jesse has talked about this being like a networking event. Like, he's promoting this also potentially as like a crypto marketing networking event. And so, I mean, to me, this is like, when we have things set up and we come to the EOS network, I want to know, like, look, guys, we can go to any other cryptocurrency and do the same thing. And this is going to drive adoption, because if you incentivize and you're putting money back into the people who are going out there and spreading the word, like, I don't know, that to me just makes the most sense of spreading and getting adoption from a cryptocurrency. But I think this is where we're currently at, is like, this is a huge opportunity that the Eden Fractal Eden can step up and bring to the table of like why we should get a top up for our treasury. It's because we're real people, we can do real marketing, and we can start to provide KPI results too once we have things set in place, which I think we're getting closer.
Right. Yeah, good point. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Sebastian, for asking as well. Yeah, I'm happy to respond to that too, and I really appreciate you sharing your thoughts. So a couple things to add too. We haven't really been doing much marketing for the past few weeks. Like we've been doing some marketing, but like for example, past few weeks I haven't put out like the tweet from the Eden Fractal account that shows like who's been earning and stuff. And there's much more marketing we could do. We've been focused on a lot of different things, and yet Eden Fractal, it's having more participation than ever now. I think we've had like 19, 20 people the past couple weeks, which is the second and third most participants that we've had in general. So I think that in some sense it's marketing itself, and people are just enthusiastic and excited about the idea, so people are joining more often and sharing with their friends and so forth. So it's kind of like that organic marketing. And I think that in some sense it's better to be smaller right now, because we're able to have these a bit more cohesive and cozy kind of discussions that are helpful also when we're dealing with things like potential regulations and also like big decisions about how we come to consensus and so forth. Having a smaller group that can really think about these things closely without having 100 people trying to speak over each other, like there's benefit in that. So to some extent I think it's been helpful to not market it too much, although we've done certainly some marketing, and we could certainly scale it up way more. And then, as Felix was saying too, one of the big incentivizations could be increased funding. So for a while, I was working on a proposal for the ENF to raise funding for Eden and Eden Fractal. Still am, just haven't done it recently, but that's definitely a big source. I think there's a huge amount of synergy where ENF and EOS can benefit tremendously by funding Eden Fractal in various different ways. We just need to figure out the best way to do it and the best way to propose it and so forth. And then rather than people earning, a couple EOS or 10 EOS from joining here, people could potentially earn a lot more. And if people could actually, be able to pay their bills and be able to buy nice stuff from joining these events, then that would be a great thing eventually. And I think it will be. I think that in the future, like a majority of people could find good compensation and build wealth with these kinds of events and so forth. But we can take it step by step. And at some point, I was thinking maybe we could ask the ENF for like maybe $1,000 in rewards per week is an example of how we can scale up gradually. I think scaling up gradually is a good idea because we don't want to grow too fast. Like going from 15 to 20 people, 25 people and so forth is better than going from 20 to 200 or something, because then we could get out of control and so forth. And then also just marketing, like just by making great content and sharing great times and having like welcoming experiences and enjoying each other's time and making cool stuff together too. Like in addition to the monetary value, there's a huge amount of value in like enjoyment and education and things that we could do together and so forth, and personal experiences and so forth. So those are some ways and some thoughts about marketing. I was also going to respond to Felix's thoughts about the extra 15 minutes, and Das had shared some great thoughts too, but first I'd like to pass it on. I know Lisa had her hands up before me, and then she left. I don't know if your internet got cut off or anything.
I
next, Lisa. Was that?
Sure.
Okay.
I closed the wrong thing. It looked like it was open twice and I couldn't see anyone. So it's just as well. So thanks. I missed a couple of things, but I'll try to keep this brief. I have a couple of thoughts. First of all, on the regulation front, if there is a regulation and we can follow it, I think it's a good idea to do that. Unfortunately, we don't know a ton of them, but we do know some of them. Like, for example, in the United States, raffles are illegal unless you're a nonprofit and register with the local government, so to speak, the county or whatever. It's different in each place. So we know, like, don't do that, right? And gambling is perceived as things that are randomly selected by chance, where you put something in and have a chance of getting something out. So it's like, okay, let's just not do that. And so like those are really easy if we just like decide, okay, we want to, do our best to comply with things that are good for people and so forth. And then if something isn't clear, that's a whole nother thing. We can try to self-govern the best and do what we can and, be good future citizens of our virtual and physical worlds and so forth, right? So yeah, I know, but the churches, Douglas, are nonprofits and hopefully they're registering. However, it does put them at risk because if they are doing that, someone can come after them, and they do all the time. The well, that's a whole nother thing, but anyway, we can talk about that. But I too am very interested in learning to do the right thing, but in a field where it's not defined, it does make it a bit challenging at times. So we at least try to take, the guidance of things that we hear and see. The second point I want to say, having spent my life in marketing, I have a lot of thoughts about it. And also having spent the last 3.5 years in the world of tokens and decentralized communities and trying to figure out the shared ideals and values and on like a rabid quest of that, I've encountered some things that might be helpful. First of all, don't market the token. Like, I don't even know how, I'm just going to say that. And that's a whole hour right there. But if you really want to engage a community, build opportunities for them to come play and enjoy and engage as you're talking about. And I've seen quite a fabulous set of examples on the Wax blockchain and with games. Exactly. It's like Patrick's guessing in the comments. Obviously, for those who know, I was at Alien Worlds for a long time and I'm a rabid player. And the planets are launching with the governance of each planet by 5 individuals, and it's going to be a fabulous experience. But when you think, yeah, right, of course, that's how I knew about it. If you think about what is it we're trying to do, and what I love, I'm so inspired by this group today and so grateful I showed up. Thank you, Dan, for posting the link and divine intervention for me actually seeing it. But I'm inspired because you all think about the bigger picture and life on Earth and building a better world. And every single day throughout the day, I tell people in communities that you guys are here doing this, that you're out, even though I don't see it all the time, there are people who are building better worlds. Sometimes I hashtag that, because we're at the player level, we're at the people level. And sometimes, yeah, you bring in way more than you want. But if you're like, well, we want 20 people, that's really easy. That's really easy to say. But then you say, well, what are they going to get? Just the tokens aren't enough. What are you going to do with the tokens? What is the player path, really? And those are some conversations I suggest that could be had. I'd be happy to host them, and perhaps that's me learning your proposal system that you've already developed and thinking more about it. But I just wanted to mention those, and I'm always around if anyone wants to have chats about it. But yeah, when you add value for engagement beyond, you don't want the engagement just based on the token. I was at Alien Worlds the weekend that we went on Binance, and trust me, you don't want engagement just based on the token. And in terms of community development, that's not the people who are going to be here helping you build. And at this point, if you're looking toward people who help build and add more creators, there's a lot of community creators out there who would love the opportunity to get involved in these types of conversations. And it seems like a great time to include them and bring them in. And by the way, there's several have discovered recently that EOS NFTs can be created on Atomic. It's the best kept secret, by the way. So be watching, because we're going to have some of those communities very soon show up there. So happy to report. That'll get you at least your next 20 if you want. So anyway, I'm around if anyone wants to chat. Thanks again for including me.
Thank you, Lisa.
Lisa. Nice to have you here.
Yeah, thank you.
So just to remind the people why we are here in less than 1 minute, Eden Fractal is the catalyst to more collaboration using Fractally process to empower Eden ideation going forward. Circles are naturally formed by people willing to join their effort to collaborate. Eden Fractal empowering Eden contributors. Eden Fractal uses the Fractally process to reward Eden and EOS contributors with EOS, Eden Respect, and NFTs. These weekly Eden Fractal events are easy to start, and can be profoundly helpful for Eden and EOS. Voila, what we are doing here, by the way. So the people that are pushing the narrative that we are, it's a reality. We are the regulation sector. We know that it is fucked. We know that it is fucked. So we have to be focused here in this group and collaborate between us, cooperation, and be very focused after the breakout room that have been extended by the proposal, the process of Tadas, 15 minutes more for the breakout room. After the breakout room, when we are into this main room, we have to be focused on the processes, the proposal of the people that have passed time, like Dancing Joy, Tadas, and discuss about that. I totally agree with Rory Ramos. We have to be very focused on that, because discuss about what is happening maybe in Al-Aqsa with the sexual life of the bees, that's another subject. Maybe you can discuss that in another room, in another channel, or discuss about the scenario, what possible scenario can happen. Okay, there are other places for that. So here, we have to be very focused on what we are doing. Otherwise, those meetings, again, are extended, and we are never finishing. And your people, their time are precious. The time is the most scarce city resource currently. So respect to the time also. Again, that's very important. And I don't want to do the bad guy here, but I say what I think. So thank you, everyone. Much respect.
Can I go next? I have some thoughts about this. I have a proposal for how we can become more focused next week. It's an informal proposal, but we can still follow it, and we will at least be less confused maybe next week. So we can, anyone who has an idea for itinerary or a meeting agenda for next week, submit a poll on Consortium where you present that meeting agenda, and we simply say that meeting agenda which has the most votes, we follow that, and we only need a moderator which would enforce that a little bit at least. So that's a suggestion for how we could be a bit more organized in the after meeting next week.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Tadas. Real quick, what are your thoughts on the keeping the 15 minutes in, and then if we do, then starting the meeting at 8 a.m., the breakout rooms at 8 a.m. or 13 UTC, so that we end at the top of the hour, so that breakout, it's a clean transition, because I see this as two parts, right? Breakout rooms, and then I think this is an extra feature we're building out, right? Voting on proposals, direction, all that. But that's a second part. There's going to be some people that can only tune into the first part. So I think that's why, being right in at the hour. But yeah, I guess what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, one trouble with this might be that people already got used to the time 15 after 13 UTC when the breakout rooms start. And at the end of the day, we still, I think we need about an hour in the after meeting and a bit longer breakout room. So I don't know if it's that important if we start at the top of the hour or and.
I mean, I think people have meetings, right? So I think, yeah, because people are also used to like ending at the top of the hour after breakout rooms too. So that has changed, and then also that affects like how the itinerary is going to be written out too. Because again, ideally, I've only booked 2 hours of my time. Like I really should be going and doing my work stuff right now, but just because I'm here, but I'm not the only one in this situation, I'm sure. And this just keeps us professional though too. So
Well, I'm not against it, what you suggest, but I think we should find a consensus signal on this. So maybe that's it would be a good idea to suggest it, that kind of itinerary on consortium, like I say, and then if it has enough votes. And then if it has enough votes, we have to make sure that we inform everyone that it changed a little bit. So that's the part I'm a bit concerned about. But we can move to it gradually. So, for example, next meeting we still do breakout rooms at the same time, and make sure that we inform everyone that it will change eventually.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Jorge, do you want to go?
Yeah, I do think that we somehow derail it from our pre-established protocol, and that's probably because we don't have a moderator. So I'd like to propose Felix for the moderator role, like in the Genesis Fractal. We had Joshua, which is managing the times and the order of things. So I like to propose Felix to do that, so that next week we can proceed with our established protocol. I feel somehow that we are disrespecting Dan today by not paying attention to the proposals he brought today, and instead letting distract ourselves in this regulation noise. So I'd like to go back to our way of doing things and focus on ourselves and keep advancing. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts, Jorge, and Tadas and Felix, everybody. Yeah, so a bunch of thoughts here. One, thank you, Jorge, for helping structure the meetings and also empathizing with that too. Personally, I was grateful that Jesse brought this topic about the regulations, because I feel like something that matters greatly for us, and it's a really helpful thing to discuss, and we haven't been discussing it. So the proposals that I shared, everybody can vote on consortium right now. I'd be happy now or at any point to discuss it further. I encourage everybody to go check them out. The links are above, and then vote on them to signal your support, or reach out either now or in the Eden Discord, Eden Town Hall every Sunday at 16 UTC, or just reach out privately or on the Telegram or on Eden Talk or wherever. These things aren't something that we necessarily need to decide right now, but these are consensus signaling tools, and consortium can be used to signal consensus anytime. So I appreciate you advocating to respect that, Jorge. In this situation, I was grateful for the discussion that we had and how Jesse brought it up. And so that's why I felt like it's better that we discuss that rather than just getting right into the proposals, because those regulations, like, people should understand the potential risks and potential liabilities and so forth before we move on full steam ahead. So I felt like, as moderator and host, that's for the best of the community, and also to let it go how the community wanted. Couple other things too. Starting the meeting earlier, yes, I think that Tadas had a good point there and a good idea. And Felix also made a good point too. People do have to go. I think that Thomas and a few other people said too, like, ending it at, I guess, 14:15 UTC can be awkward for some people's schedules. And so if we're able to go and stop it at the top of an hour, then that's generally better for people's schedules. I'm happy to start earlier. So I've been starting most of the meetings around 12:30 UTC. And I'm happy to do that more consistently. Sometimes I've been 5 or 10 minutes late, but I'm happy to do that at exactly 12:30 UTC. And then we can start the breakout rooms at 13 UTC. And that's probably best. Probably best to make it simpler for everybody. It makes the time simpler. But I agree with Tadas's proposal of doing that on consortium, I think, to see what people think is best, and then also easing into it. I don't think it would be wise to do that next week without having a week to discuss it. I also agree with Tadas's proposal about structuring the meetings according to proposals on consortium as well. I believe that will be really helpful, and that's the reasons why I made these proposals. The 3 proposals to signal consensus on consortium, first. Secondly, to make all proposals on consortium so that they're all in one spot, and then thirdly, so that we will order the priority of proposals that are discussed by how many votes they receive. This will provide a simple mechanism that's already built into Consortium and that uses the respect token, which provides a fairly good approximation of the contribution and respect the person has earned in the community and so forth. So it rewards contributors and gives people power to help guide the meetings going forward. And I think that this is really helpful and really necessary, because I agree that these meetings need more structure too. I think last week it was a mess. Like Felix was trying to structure it with where there was 10 minutes for each proposal, but that wasn't an agreed upon protocol as far as I understand. Like we just didn't have an agreed upon protocol. And so with like Tadas's suggestion, we could say, okay, now say these 3 proposals I made, I'd like to focus on them next week for sure. And so I could make a proposal saying, you know, for the first half hour, I'd like to discuss these 3, or, you know, somebody else has a different proposal, or we could figure out that and reaching consensus there. And I think that using Consortium can really help with this. And it also really helps the moderator too, because like as a moderator, I want to help guide the community, or help, you know, help host it in the community, how the community wants. But having these consensus signals with Consortium, like it helps the moderator, it helps everybody understand what the community wants, because otherwise we're kind of limited to like caveman style of just talking one at a time over Zoom. Whereas with these tools, we can get much more precise measurements. Lastly, I'd also like to say too that I'd prefer to be the moderator. I appreciate what Felix is doing in many ways, but I think that I'll do a better job as a moderator for the community in general. We can go into that more, but in general, I mean, I started Eden Fractal and I have a vision for how we can lead it. I'm happy to share hosting responsibilities and moderation abilities to some extent. Some things that Felix has done in the past have kind of lost my trust a little bit, and that takes some time to build up. And so I feel like I'm a bit more mature and capable of moderating in like a polite and kind way and so forth. And Felix, I don't mean to I don't know, making any insults or anything like that. And I really appreciate what you do in many ways, Felix, but I just think it's best for the community if I continue to be moderator. But of course, we can figure that out as we go. And I'm happy discussing more. But with that, I'll pass it on to Patrick.
I was raising my hand because just what you said just now, that's very interesting about moderation and how you are seeing that, Jorge also. I try to figure out on that moderation. Into this Eden Fractal, there is no 1-man or 2-man competition, okay? We have already broke up that there is not just about 1 person or 2 person or 3 person. We are an entire group here. So I think we are adult and we should be able to moderate us at the best as we can to avoid, or let's say minimize, to speak about things that are not related directly to what we are doing on the past week for the next week. Because when we finish a meeting like this, normally the end of a meeting should be what we have made today, short summary, and then what we will do next week. Because it's an experience week after week. It's not just we have to be the best one day and then nothing more. We have to be very consistent and resiliency. So, and reliable, by the way. And those videos are also then public. Imagine when Felix or Dancing Joy, they have to cut all what maybe the glitches and all and make that public. That's not easy. So more the main room is focused, the better the marketing will be, the better the audience will pay attention to what we do here. The same for Eden on EOS. The chief delegates meeting have to be very, not begin by each individual work, but directly into the core of the things. Like this, the audience will pay attention. It's also that to outreach more audience. Otherwise, we do all those meetings in private. Like this, we can speak about all what we want into the main room. Like this, it's okay. But if it is public, we have to be very mindful. And okay, we can chat into the chat because the Zoom chat is not on the video. That's great, by the way. But all what you are speaking into the main room could be captured by other people that are maybe interested to join us. So we have to be very focused. Okay, it's fun. I love this Eden Fractal, that's fun. But I am not only here as many of us just for the fun. And the breakout room, 15 minutes more, fantastic. But 15 minutes more, but then into the main room, once again, focus. And then you are now proposing to be the moderator because you think that you can convey you can be a best moderator, seems to be than Felix, or maybe Felix is thinking that he could be also a great moderator, seems to be. So that's not, sorry, that's like a competition, seems to be. I prefer to see here people that have understood the importance to be very focused. And if people are disappointed, they have not to join. They can simply not join, that's okay. Let's have the people that are very interested to push the things that are interested, and we will do something great. You have always two categories at the end. The people that leave, the people that stay. Also, when the things are not going as expected, and now the things are going more and more harsh, will be more and more complicated. You will have people maybe upset. So that's the time to be very good lions of wisdom and doing the things with heart, soul, and mind. Okay, that's not the time to create cleavage here between Felix, dancing joy, thinking that I am the best, you are the best, you are not better than me. Certainly not, you are not better than me. That's the motto. Never, no one is better than someone else. We have just to share ideas, information, and go forward, and forget about this competition and all that. We are here to collaborate. Once again, that's the keyword. So I am not in favor of this moderation that you are proposing now. If you put a poll into consortium, I will vote no. So put maybe a poll on a consortium to ask to the community, do you prefer Dancing Joy as a moderator into the Eden Fractal, or do you prefer Felix? That's not the good way to do the things. Otherwise, that will create a cleavage into this Eden Fractal. And
Thanks,
I say again what I mean. It's not against you. Huh? I love you, man. All the respect. I love you. Felix also. All the respect, everyone, but that's not the time to create friction here.
Thank you, Patrick. I agree. And I'll just briefly respond out of place or out of turn a little bit here. I'd just like to just clarify a couple of things. One, I'm not really looking to make a proposal to set a specific moderator. I think that it works quite well when we're sharing moderation responsibilities. I brought that up in response to Jorge, who suggested having a specific moderator. And I'd prefer that we keep it a little bit more casual and also like work together. I think that Felix and I bounce off each other really well in many cases, and also other people really speak well in the community too, and more people can help moderate in different times as well. But I know some people have also voiced that they want more moderation as well, and I understand that. I appreciate that. Like sometimes, like last week, for example, it did get hectic and have a commotion, and it's helpful to have some person or persons with the responsibility to do a moderation, and to, you know, if everybody's talking over each other, to just, you know, click mute or everything like that, or somebody's speaking for too long, then to ask somebody to wrap it up and move on to the next and so forth, so we can keep the times. I think that the most important thing, beyond who specifically or whichever people do the moderation, is that the community can use tools like Consortium and the Eden plus Fractal process to provide signals to the community as a whole and to the moderators, so that the moderators and the community can work together in accordance with what the community wants. In the past weeks, even on the host of the Zoom call, technically, I've never I've never muted anybody, and I've certainly never like booted anybody from the call or anything like that. And I've rarely spoken up and cut somebody off, because I aim to be respectful, and I aim to listen. I want to hear what everybody thinks, and I want to keep it open as much as possible. But at the same time, I also appreciate the need that Jorge and Felix was seeing, that and you were saying too, Patrick, that sometimes we need to focus on proposals and so forth, and we need to focus our discussions. And what we really need, I think, is using these consensus signaling mechanisms. Like, there's several things that we need. We all need to be, better leaders and learn to grow and be better communicators and so forth. But then in addition, like having these tools like Consortium and the Eden plus Fractal process provide signals so that whoever is doing the moderating or whoever is speaking, we can very quickly come to consensus about what the next best step is. Like last week, I was thinking a lot about how the meeting went last week. And, sometimes people were speaking over each other. We had a process that Felix was trying to stick to about having 10 minutes of proposal, but so many of these things weren't agreed upon. And so like I'm seeing in the future, in next week and future weeks, and that's the reason why I made these proposals for Consortium this week, we can in real time make proposals on Consortium. We could do it in advance too, like Adas was saying, and that's a great idea. We should do it in advance. But then we can also do it in real time, just like how you use Facebook in real time, we can use Consortium in real time. And like somebody could put a proposal and be like, okay, I think we've talked enough about the legal stuff now. Let's focus on these proposals. And then if the community votes yes, then you could have, oh, lots of people are voting yes. And then the moderator gets a signal, okay, we should move on. Previously, as I was, hosting these calls, I didn't have that signal, so I wasn't sure. But whoever hosted, I think that like we're all best to work together. I completely agree with what you're saying, Patrick. We don't want to create tension, and I want to work as effectively as possible, cooperate as effectively as possible with Felix and everybody in this group. I'm looking forward to it. I think we'll do amazing things. And then I think in addition to that, having these tools and really embracing these tools and learning about these tools like Consortium and using them can really help us cooperate more effectively so we can make decisions. And it's not just like one person deciding how it should be, but we can have the input from the entire community. So that's one reason why I encourage people to check out Consortium as well. Sorry for speaking out of turn there. I'll pass it on now.
I've listened to a lot of Twitter, Twitter chats, people trying to solve problems. The loud person takes the most time, expresses themselves. I too get turned off if there's too much emotion, which is very ironic because I'm a very emotional person in the meetings I do attend, especially our Crown meetings. But just a reflection of the value of a concise hour meeting where there's process, where we limit people to 3 minutes of their contributions, and then people have the equal amount of times to come to a consensus. I can't wait. So our process afterwards follows the same sort of routine. And I'm not saying that an open discussion call is not valuable, but I see these other groups could use this format, and it's very valuable to come together, have a specific time frame, have an actionable event, some actions to do after that, and it'd be great to follow that with the same process. I know we're figuring out how to come to that next step, but yeah, I think if we want to grow, that's the nice value that we have here, because there is the moderator has to do less, right? So, I see that we come and have this nice format, and then afterwards, the louder people talk, there's motions, there's, talking over each other. So yeah, if we can get back to the root of the value of why this is so short and concise. And I realize that it's two separate things. We're doing our first meeting and then we're talking out things. But I guess just to reiterate what Patrick is saying, for us to grow, for other communities to see that it is very valuable what we've created here of a very concise process to hear everybody, have it be fair and equal. The loudest guy doesn't dominate. And if we can work towards having that in our second part of the meeting, great. And moderators, it's tough. I've seen both of you do a great job, Felix and Dan, and it's just the over passionate of trying to get your point across because you're so passionate doesn't sometimes ring as collaboration, as much when I look at videos and see what we've done. So I just want to commend everyone for a good job and striving to keep this in the essence of that nice shortness to actually get something done instead of us just always talking. And I gotta leave. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Duane.
Yep, thanks,
Much
Duane.
appreciated.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to be leaving as well here soon. But I guess some thoughts real quick. So ideally, whoever moderates, like it doesn't have to be one person. It doesn't have to be me. I guess I don't want this to turn Dan versus me. Like I think this is like Jorge is the one that nominated me. I didn't say it, but reason why I think he nominated me is because I've shown to provide structure. And that's important. That's respecting people's time. And so I agree. We need to that's I think our next steps as an Eden Fractals. We need to have an itinerary that we can stick to and respect that, because not everyone can just stay an hour after. It also the commitment, right? If people know that, okay, I'm showing up to this Eden Fractal meeting, there's the 1 hour for breakout rooms, and then there's the 1 hour for voting on proposals, direction. That's what I see the second part is. I don't know what we're going to call it, but that's, I think, the second feature of what we're doing here. But that needs to also have structure, just like how we have a time limit to reach consensus. We need to have a time limit to reach consensus on whatever we're voting on and talking about. So having an itinerary is really important. And yet we do need to have a moderator, though, who will stick to what we agreed upon, because if we have too loose of moderation, then you're not going to get things done. So yeah, so I guess, yeah, I don't want to address certain points that I don't really appreciate that you said, Dan, because I just, to say maturity, stuff like that, I could swing things back and say things opposite, but then that goes you and I going against each other, and that's not what it's about. It's about having a moderator that's just going to keep us efficient. And so I'm all for whoever can stick to time can be the moderator, but as of right now, I'm fine with also stepping up and making sure that, look, let's use this post hour and let's stay efficient to it, because I have a day job also. This is a perfect use case for me. I need to stick to the time that I have set for the Eden Fractal so that I can also spend time on my other responsibilities. And I'm not the only one that is in this situation. I'm sure other people have to go to work as well, or is working currently. And so they're working this into their schedule. So we need to be very mindful of that. And so those are just kind of my final thoughts. And yeah, I appreciate that, Tadas, for bringing up the consortium. I think that's a good idea. Let's put the itinerary on consortium, and let's see how that turnout goes. And then hopefully the one with the highest, then I think that's the itinerary we should stick to. And then whoever the moderator is, whatever itinerary we stick to, ideally, I'm going to try to stick to the itinerary if that's what we kind of agreed to. So it'll be self-initiative of being the moderator. But again, it's all of us to try to kind of moderate each other to stick to what we agreed to with the itinerary. But, obviously, yeah, somebody's got to step up. I will step up to whatever the itinerary is accepted. If we're not sticking to that, I'm going to speak up. I will be vocal. If we're not going to respect what we agreed upon, then I'm just going to leave. And that's not just me, that's everybody else too, right? So that's just being respectful to what we agree upon with the itinerary. So yeah, appointing moderators, we can do that. I think that could have maybe help a little bit if some people are feeling like if now we're having, if it turns into a competition of moderating, which it shouldn't. It should just be hey, 15 minutes. We said we're talking about this next subject. Hey, you started talking, your hand wasn't raised, I got to mute you, or you got to stop. Those are just the tasks that I can see an appointed moderator would have, is just sticking to what we agreed upon. But yeah, that's all I got. And then I'm gonna leave probably after Patrick's. He's got the last one with his hand raised. But Sebastian, you're next on my screen.
Sebastian, you're muted. And while Sebastian's getting that figured out, I'm just going to say thank you, Felix. And I'm looking forward to working with you. And I think that we both bring lots of different benefits as well as many people in the community. So we can find something that works really well for the community to make sure that we stick to schedule and so forth. And I agree with what you're saying. But anyway, Sebastian, are you ready now?
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
All right. To the point of moderation, I would like to bring something into consideration, and that is we are not that many people, and Danba's number, it's like 150 people, and I think if we just lay down some ground rules, really respect the hand holding, don't interrupt people until they reach this amount of people, I'm not so sure we really want a moderator, because it may break the organic formation of this group. Kind of what I mean?
Yeah, good point, Sebastian.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, you're saying something, Marco? I agree with what you're saying. I think that moderator is helpful. We do need a way to stick to the time. And I think probably a lot of that will be fixed just by agreeing to it with consensus, like with consortium. I see that Tadash tried to make that proposal. He needs to get more govern tokens, so I'll help out with that. And yeah, sometimes we do need free form discussions, and we don't want to cut it off. Like I feel like last week it was a bit too constricting. I feel like as some constructive criticism, like I feel like last week the way you're trying to do it was a little bit overbearing because first of all, we hadn't agreed to the schedule where there was like 5 proposals for 10 minutes. I don't think we agreed at least. And I feel like Tadas's proposal made sense to focus on it more. And so like sometimes we do want to be more relaxed. And I think really what we need, like we're discussing moderators, but Sebastian made a good point too. Like we're relatively small and we can cooperate, but really what we need is just something to agree upon. We need to agree upon a schedule, because then I think whoever is moderating, the whole community can help moderate together if somebody's going off that schedule that's not agreed upon by consensus. But really we just need to agree upon what should be the schedule and so forth. And so yeah.
And sticking to topics too, because to address that point though, Dan, the reason it was hectic and chaotic though is I would ask a question, hey, this is what we're talking about, but then you would talk about like a lot of other proposals and wasn't sticking to topic. And that's all of us have that same issue, right? We're all growing here as individuals of how to communicate in a community. And sometimes we go off on rambles and we need somebody to be like, hey, you know, there's a good way to moderate, right? And there's a bad way to moderate. But bottom line, we have to have a little bit, like last week I got a little bit more emotional because it's like, okay, I'm just done with this lack of organization. We got to get organized or we're not going to do anything. That's bottom line. That's just being straight up. If we're not focused, we're not aligned, and we don't have structure, how do we anticipate having success? That's just living in a fairy tale and just hoping and dreaming that things are just going to come. You have to make it happen, and to do that you have to have structure and be organized. And so just sticking on topic and points, and yeah, I think bottom line just comes to the itinerary, and then just having good moderation, not overbearing. And obviously I think we're gonna be fine. But we have to build out some type of process, because as we grow we do need moderators, right? It's a feature, but again, it's teaching the correct moderation, where it's not where, hey, I'm the moderator, like now you just take complete control. It's just doing things in a respectful way, where if somebody's over rambling, like myself right now, somebody could step in and be like, hey, okay, we got you. Or having a timer, right? It's like, okay, here's your timer. Your timer's up. Sorry, got to interrupt you, but like, let's start to practice. You stick in the minute. That's your time. Once you extend it, you're muted. And then you'll just learn to be able to stick. And you got to learn. We have to learn to be able to stick to the time constraints that we allow, because these are slots. The way I see the Eden token potentially having value is it could be used to buy these slots for the proposals, because I think this second step is huge. This is what guides us to where we're going as a fractal. What do we think we can start to vote on? What proposals next week are we going to like collectively kind of like signal as like the heaviest contributions based off what we respect? And then obviously everyone has their own choice when they do that the next week, but it helps us guide, like, okay, this week we're really going to focus on bringing in new members. So every person that brings in a new member, the one who brings the most ideally gets ranked the highest, or the quality members, right? It's still subjective, but that could be a topic for 1 week that we reach an agreement. And that's the use case I see with the second part, is this just gives us more direction to be able to be like, okay, this is where we're going this week. This is where we're like trying to focus our attention as a Eden Fractal of the direction that we're wanting to go.
Right, but as soon as we hit like this limit of 150 members, maybe it's wise to use an approach like USBs did, and the approach there, for people who didn't know, was that you had the queen of the hive and the worker bees, and as soon as the queen hit 25 worker bees, another queen had to be nominated. And if you think about the queen as the moderator, then you have like 150 people, for example, and each group gets its own moderator, because I think as soon as 100 people are reached, there are very specific goals in most of these groups developed. And then you need like people, you can't just have one moderator for 10,000 people. Like it's, that's a meeting you can't control like ever.
Well, the moderator for that part though would be like, so the second part, right, with Tadas' proposal, then we're talking like this next hour could just mainly be the council that talks, and then everyone who wants to listen can listen. But that's the whole point of setting up the council. So now you have one person representing a lot more people. But you know, as we grow, yeah, things are going to have to change, but there's still got to be some type of moderation, right? When you have 10,000 people come in, if there's no one like guiding the direction, then it's just going to be complete chaos.
Yeah,
Okay.
but the direction is the protocol we are following, not some person. Like we are
Right.
following.
Well, and the protocol would be like the itinerary though, too, right? Because like, okay, so post hour, what are we doing? Like if there's, what's the protocol? The protocol is going to follow ideally the itinerary, right? Our itinerary in the breakout rooms, you could say is, you know, the first, I don't know the exact minutes, right? It changes from breakout room to breakout room, but everyone shares their contributions. They've got like a, you know, 3-minute pitch. Then everyone asks questions. Then you vote. You could break that into an itinerary, even though it's very loose, which we just have to have a loose itinerary, I guess, in a way. But we can be more efficient, though, the more time efficient we are with breaking out what we're doing in each, you know, section of the hour. Because I think we're still trying to figure out what we're doing with this next hour, right? It seems to make sense that we vote on proposals and direction. We're talking about next steps in the hour, but now we have to come up with some type of structure, though, a protocol that we follow as a community. But because this is more of an open discussion part, right now, instead of a room of 5, it's easier to kind of moderate who all talks because we're all sharing that time. But now we're in a room with, you know, 20 plus people. We have to have sections of time for, because like if we have 60 people, right, then everyone wanted a minute, then everyone would have to stick to 1 single minute to be fair. And so we have to have some type of yeah, I mean, you're calling it protocol, I'm calling it itinerary, but I think what you're trying to say though is like, I think you're worried about over moderation, which I agree, we don't need over moderation, but we, to a certain extent, I think we have to have some.
Okay. Thank you, Felix. Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you, everyone here. I just want forget for a moment about the word policy, moderation, and all those words. Okay. The things that matter, it's the structure of this Eden Fractal of those calls. So the breakout room is clear. We do our contribution, and like today, I was in the Felix breakout room, and the people decided, and I have also advocated for myself for one time, to be the delegate. Now into the React app, we have the delegate field that was not there before. So we have respected the Tadas process. It's all about process. And Vlad has added this new field. Fantastic. And now I have advocated to be a delegate. Why? Not because I want to be a delegate, because I want to do a good job. And I was supposed to be into the main room discussing about to hear, to listen to the process of Dance Enjoy, to the process of Tadas, and that was the goal of the main room. Then during the main room, if someone is overacting or becoming totally, I don't know, crazy and discussing about different things that have nothing to do with what we are doing, the entire fractal with mindful people in it, by the way, can come to the conclusion like a dispute resolution. Okay, this guy or this woman, I don't know, that could be any kind of behavior that we consider not fitting in our structure, in our process. It's all about process. So process for the breakout room, process for the main room, and be focused on what we are doing here, whatever happen. we know what we have to do now. We have to be more marketing. We have to be more oriented marketing. Eden on EOS is oriented more marketing, by the way, and more Web3, more Web3, more independence between the people, between us, without to expect anything. However, I love Yves Larose, Zach Gould, and Brandon Lovejoy of the ENF, but not expecting something from someone else. That's an error. I have experienced that a lot. I have experienced that a lot of time also, and I am not the only one. When you expect something from someone else, you are always disappointed at the end. So do the things for yourself. It's not egocentrical. It's just to grow the value that you have in you, and then you connect. So Eden Fractal, we are a perfect place, and we are just 6 months now. Then we are beginning June. We are 4 months. 4 months. That's very young. That's very young. And the proposal, the process, that's make 3 weeks that we discuss about that. But that's make 5 weeks that we say always the same thing. Into the main, after the breakout room, no more than 1 hour 30. And we finish always the same OGs, Lenny, myself, Felix, today, Chris Barnes, thank you to be with us, Lisa Chandler, Machinber Sparrow, always the same OGs at the end. But the people that are joining maybe as new people, just after the breakout room, they don't want to stay for 3 hours or 4 hours. And yeah, I agree totally. The respect is not only respect the people, their contribution. Respect is also respect the time of the people. By the way, I was very upset the last time. I recognize I was a bad lion, and I apologize to everyone here, included Lenny, that was stating to me, I was totally sometimes, I was upset because about the time, indeed, about the time, that's stupid, but about the time. And why? Because I have also other things to do. And we are not into the same time zone. You are in US, I am in Switzerland. Lenny is in, I don't remember where. So, and now Chris is in Mexico. So everyone, we are in another place. We have our problems and we have our, we have our things. But here, Eden Fractal is not the centralized world, by the way. We are into another thing here. So the rules that apply into the centralized world that I don't love as you, about all this regulation and all this bastard, here we are into Eden Fractal with beautiful people, heart, soul, and mind. So can we, in heart, soul, and mind, when we are into the main room, be focused on what we are doing here and forget about ENF and forget about all those people? I love them, but we have to be focused on ourselves. It's not egocentrical, by the way. And I can also be a moderator, by the way, and Lenny can be a very good one. Huh? I assure you, Lenny could be a very good moderator. He's a very good one. And Machine Bird also, Chris also, for sure. But come on, we are here together, and we have to forget about the friction and all this stuff. Huh? No competition here, co-petition, leading to collaboration. If it is competition and this chantage, oh, if this is not going better, I will leave. Or if it is not going better, I will fork. Or if it is not going better, if it is not going better. Okay, so do the things better now. And we, Dancing Joy, we take as granted that next week, after the breakout room, we are focus. We can speak what we think, we can speak what we love, but focus on the process. So someone has to put on consortium a poll, for sure, with the process of the structure of the main room. What is the place of the main room? What we are doing here? Okay, thanks. Sorry. Take that maybe for bullshit. I don't know. And don't say me thank you, because you say always thank you. I appreciate you. Blah blah blah, etc. Okay. I love you. I love you also.
All right, Patrick. Let me go.
I want to hear from you for one time.
Cool.
One time. No,
You got me
you
to
can
cheer
say
up a
no for
little.
one time.
No. Okay, so let me respond
No.
here. First off, I agree with a lot of what you're saying here, Patrick, and I do think we've been going for over 3 hours now, so I'm happy to start wrapping it up. You guys would like, I think that's probably a good idea. We do want to respect people's time, but there's a few things I'd like to say in response to Patrick and some other ideas and next steps. First,
I stay here for hear you.
Hey Dan, no moderation.
Sebastian.
Okay, Chris is telling jokes over here, having a good time in the chat. I'm glad to hear that Chris is enjoying it. First off, Lisa mentioned how about extra tokens or NFTs based upon following time limits and positive reinforcements. And Felix also mentioned the idea previously of how people could, potentially that could be a value for the Eden token if there's a cost to talking out of space or out of time or something like that. Dan Lammers also stated some similar ideas about how when you're speaking a lot, you're kind of consuming the community resource. And so that should have an expense. If you're creating a public good, then that should be rewarded. So in general, I think that we should work to engineer such solutions, and we can do so with Power of EOS. I'm also working on similar mechanisms with Consortium, and I think BBS could also be helpful there too. So I thank you for bringing those up, and I think that those are good to explore, although not feasible in the current week, but good to explore for the future. Sebastian asked what rights does the moderator have at a moment. I don't think that's really been defined. I mean, technically, there's not a moderator role. Technically, there's a Zoom host role, and the Zoom host currently has all the power to do mute and stuff like that, like formally. Although moderator, if it's acknowledged by the community, then that person would have kind of more informal power to speak up if somebody's going over time and stuff like that. But we could define it. But yeah, I agree with what we were saying before. I think really our focus is getting an itinerary first. After we have an itinerary, then we can decide if we need to change up moderation. But I think we can probably take moderation fairly naturally because we're all aligned in the fact that we want to be moderated and more on time with schedule, but we also don't want to over moderate it. And just having the itinerary will be like a huge step. I think it'll probably solve the majority of the problem right there. With that in mind, what's that, Sebastian?
Can I underbreak? Can I say something shortly?
Yes.
Because I think you are missing my point. My point is that I would like to see some ground rules. Like, I think that would solve most of the issues. Like, don't speak longer than 5 minutes in a row, 3 times in this hour, like stuff like that. Or, I don't know, just to keep things in place, some ground rules. So, I mean, that would be the easiest part, I think.
Yeah, good point, Sebastian. And I agree. I think that those are also things that I envision Consortium being used for as well. Like I was thinking of putting up a poll, like, should we not talk for over 5 minutes or over 1 minute? And anybody can do that too. And that signals to the community if somebody stops speaking too long. I think that's really valuable for the community because many of us, sometimes myself included, but just in general, like sometimes we speak too long and we should all do a better job of speaking closer sometimes. Patrick is pointing somewhere. Patrick sometimes likes to give some speeches as well as everybody.
Yeah,
but
right.
It's something we can all learn. And I think that basically like we can establish those kinds of rules and signals with Consortium as a helpful tool. We can use it other ways too, but I think Consortium especially provides a way that we can make a proposal for doing that.
Right. I mean, I was last week in this call and it went for hours and I stayed until the end and I really enjoy Patrick's speeches, but yeah, it's taking, we are eight. We are eight.
I promise to do 2 minutes.
Yeah, but we are only 8 people left, and maybe some important stuff will still.
I have the perfect example of the guy speaking too much. Yeah, but by the way, I do all what I say.
Because people are missing information, you know?
Yeah.
I am committed to speak 2 minutes by intervention. And then Sinjoy also, I think he will do better 3 minutes when he says something, because sometimes with the passion, he's going too long. So we are passionate guys here. And by the way, I speak for me, all what I say, I do. I do intent testifying. I know this word, intent testifying. Then I do actions, and then I fucking deliver.
Patrick, do you mind if I jump in here?
Yeah, right, but that's not
Yes,
pay
Sebastian,
for
you're
you.
right. I will be better on that. I totally agree. And everyone here want to be a better version than himself. So next
No,
week will be a beautiful week.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Join us again. Join us again.
Yeah, sure, I will.
I will say to Sebastian, don't join us only to see the failures, and because there is no failure, or the problems, there is no problems. We are just finding solutions. So don't join us only to see where are the things that are not going well. Join us also to participate and help to the proposal and vote, because the people that are joining here just to see, and it's not, I am not against you, Sebastian, but I want to be clear. There are some bad tongues or peoples that don't just want to enter in a room and be here to see, oh, what they are doing. It's not going well. So
Patrick, do you mind if I cut you off for a moment
people
here?
that are very
No, I would
collaborative.
like to say something to that, because I'm not here to just listen in
No,
or
not
something.
you, not you.
No, but you have a good point. It's
Guys,
you are not showing on camera, by the way. That's not respectful.
Yeah. I
guys,
think
something I'd
even
like to say before
participation
Felix has
is
to go.
valuable.
Do you mind if I
Yeah.
just say something real quick here, Sebastian?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I just want to say, because I know Felix said he has to go in 2 minutes. I want to respect that, or 30 seconds now or so. But something I just wanted to just share while Felix and everybody is still here is, I think as a plan for next week, we should go to DOS's recommendation. People can make proposals on the consortium to form the itinerary. I'm planning on doing that and making a proposal to share presentations and proposals. And I encourage everyone to vote on consortium. And also, if you have any ideas about how you think that we should schedule the itinerary for next week, then I encourage you to do so as well. Yeah, I think that's just a good next step what we should take. And I want to just make sure Felix heard that because before we had to go. But anyway.
Yep. Okay, cool, guys. Yeah, I appreciate it, everyone. But yeah, Sebastian, I mean, I think if you were here last week, I had this timer here. So that's the idea, right? Someone's got to have a visual timer and then we can stick to that. But yeah, so that sounds good. Next step. So I'll work on an itinerary, get it posted on consortium, and then we'll go from there. And then hopefully we have a little bit more structure next week, and then we'll end at either the top of the hour or 15 minutes after. But yeah, I appreciate everyone's time, and I'll see you guys throughout the week.
Thanks, Felix. And one other thing I'll add too about this moment is just, I think we can use consortium in the moment too. Like I mentioned that before, but I think that's really powerful. Like we don't necessarily have to make a rule where people can't speak for 5 minutes all the time. Sometimes it is helpful to give a 6-minute speech, but using consortium, we can vote in the moment. Like, you know, if somebody's going for too long or we want them to speak longer, then we can quickly make a poll proposal and then quickly vote on it and work in that kind of fluid way as well.
Right, and just a last thing I want to say is, if I mean, we are meeting, it's like a wonderful process because we are meeting every week and just talk about what we did, and then we vote on each other, obviously. But this process makes it possible that we just talk about what we did last week all together in this 1 hour call. So there's no need to go beyond that. And I think it can also, if we grow bigger, and I think we will, it can lead to radicalization, because if people think they are completely right, that often leads to violence, and not maybe even like, you know, from the person who does it, but just the information itself or the output itself just triggers people. It's like I mean, I'm a very critical thinking person. Patrick got that right, but yeah, totally. I think this process avoids exactly this issue.
We want peaceful cooperation.
Meet, concentrate on the last week, and you know, that's it.
Okay. I think also we speak too much sometimes when we are not confident in ourselves or when we have fear. So now I have no fear. I will say something very short. If you want to be into the main room also and collaborate with the people and share your ideas, your information, you have to show on the camera because it is not respectful to not be showed on the camera. We have also that on into Eden Onios, some people that are joining, not showing on camera for the second time on into this Eden Onios selection. And I know the guy because I was with him the last season. And that's not okay. That's not okay. It's not about you, huh, Sebastian, by the way. And I thank you, Sebastian, to have broke the point that you have brought. That's nice. But by the way, you are not showing your face.
Yeah, I'm sick. I'm sick right now, and
sorry.
I think
you have an excuse.
I think you can hear that my noise. So.
If you are not sick, you have to show you on the camera. Voilà.
So Sebastian was on camera before.
Now he's here. Because the police
he was there all the time on camera. You missed it.
Yeah, he was there
By the way, I have a lot of friends.
Most
who
of
would
the
love
time
to
he was
come,
on the camera. Most of the time.
but
Again,
don't
I am a
have-
big bastard. I am a big bastard.
they don't always have good enough internet in Nigeria, Philippines, Indonesia, Turkey, some of these places where we have active community members. So it really drives me nuts, the requirement to be on camera or to be
yeah, okay,
on
forget
fast
my
internet or
my
and
ID
like I've
for-
worked with these people in communities for 3 years or so. Like I know them even if they were faking it, they're so good, it's okay. Like it's just, so there's in some cases I just feel like we need a way that, maybe it's more people to vet them or something, or validate them. But
Totally,
yeah,
totally.
it's just,
Okay,
and
so forget
sometimes
my
I'm
ID.
in the mountains and I don't have
Forget
good
my
internet.
ID.
So
Okay,
you
let's
know
say,
how I spent a fortune to have good internet this year. I mean, it's shocking how much
Yeah.
really to be able to be here with you today.
yeah. I forget that I am in Switzerland, in the Switzerland Bowl, and here in the Switzerland Bowl, the Disneyland, we have all a fantastic connection. So I forgot that, and I am doing U5 workshop with Maurice Vanegas. How can I forget that the connection is not the same for everyone? No, you are totally camera required favors the rich. Yeah, totally.
Oh, right.
Sorry.
Well, yeah, but
Okay.
it's also a good point, Patrick, too, though. It is nice when people are on camera, although also after 3 hours, it's understandable if people want to not be on camera. But these are good things for us to discuss, though, because we want to figure out the best way to do it. And so we can come to consensus about these things to figure out the best situations when people should be on camera and so forth. Looking forward to it. And thank you, everybody, for the discussion. I'm going to end the recording now. If people want to continue talking, then they're welcome to. But I'm going to leave because I've been looking at the computer screen for a long time. And I figure we have been going for a long time, and I don't want to keep making 4-hour recordings or whatever. So 3 hours is more than enough, I think.
Okay.
And so thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And see you next week for a shorter one.
Yes.
I enjoy it.
Looking forward to it. All right, cool. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.